here. Thank
It's
you.
good to see you. It's good to see you. Sergey,
Thank you.
Tamila,
Back in
listen.
one piece.
Yes.
We're here again at the Tax Free Millionaire Summit, and we have well over 600-700 people that are chilling online trying to figure out ways to save money. Talk to us a little bit about how you guys have been able to save money working with Tax Alchemy, and what would you say to somebody that's considering wanting to work with a tax strategy firm like ours?
Well, let me maybe start with permission of my beautiful wife. So first of all, I think we were exactly where you are now, approximately a year or so ago. And I think what I will say is that there are maybe three main questions that you're potentially asking yourself. Question number one, is it really possible? And how did I miss all of this? Then potentially question number two might be, you know what? I can actually do it myself. And then the third question might be, wow, it is much harder than it seems, and I really need your team, Carlton, to help me along the way to really execute everything that I want to do, especially
Uh-oh.
assist us along the way.
You might have froze there for a little bit, Sergey. You guys still got him? Yeah, we got you frozen, Sergey. We'll come back. Chris, you're like seeing him frozen too. I see you nodding your head. Chris, how you been? Where are you at right now?
Actually, in Phoenix, Arizona. Actually, Scottsdale, Arizona.
I'm in Arizona too, brother. We're probably gonna have to get together later. I'll shoot
Come
you a
on,
text.
where you located? Where you at?
I'm literally in Phoenix right now. I'll shoot you a text message right after this event is over.
Yeah, I'm here for a seminar. So
I love it. Chris, you and I have been working together for some years now. Share with everybody why you decided to join Tax Alchemy. What was it about joining the private client group that got you to say yes?
yeah, I mean, I think just give you my background. I'm a financial advisor. I've been doing it for over 17 years. I say back in 2015, 16, my income started to go off. And I really just had like a CPA, but they really weren't doing any type of tax strategy. So I found myself actually in 2017, I'm owing the IRS over $100,000. I guess at that moment, that's when I started looking at, okay, well, what kind of tax strategy should I employ, what to do? But it was always me providing those type of strategies to my CPA, right? But it's supposed to be the other way around, right? If you're working with the CPA, if you're working with a tax professional, shouldn't they be the one to say, okay, these are things based on your books, based on your income, based on your business that you should be maybe implementing so you can not pay as much taxes and grow your wealth and have money going tax free, right? So that was the thing that we're, okay, something has to change for me. Right. So I think, again, I saw you on YouTube, I think, 2.5 years ago, maybe. Yeah. And did this exact same seminar. I got through it. Since I got started, for me, I haven't really paid 2023, I didn't pay any federal income taxes. 2024, I paid a little bit of federal income taxes only because it was my fault. I actually purchased the golf course, and I probably should have used the money, the extra money that I had to actually do more strategies, but I bought a golf course, right? So that was something that I wanted to do. But so for me as an advisor, it's not just for myself, but it's also for my clients, right? Yep. So for me, if I know that I'm supposed to be that quarterback, that financial coach, that advisor that most of my clients come to, then if their CPA, if their tax professional isn't doing some of those things, now I'm able to provide that type of knowledge, from a 10,000 square foot view to say, okay, now this is what I'm doing personally. This is who the team that I personally work with. And a lot of my clients, Carlton, are actually working with you now, right? Yeah. I just had one on board, I guess, 3 days ago, last Friday. They just got on board with you guys as well. So it's not just about me benefiting from the situation, the relationships that you guys have, but it's also for my clients, right? Yeah. And I think that's one of the most important things. And like what I always tell my clients is like the biggest thing that I love about Tax Alchemy, about you guys' system, is the communication. Right. There's so many times, like right now, Jason, my bookkeeper with KDA, and you guys with Tax Alchemy, they're always calling me, Chris, I need this paperwork. Chris, I need this sign. Chris, you got to go do this. Instead of them waiting on me, they're always proactive and say, hey, look, this is what you need to be doing, and you need to provide this information to me so I can help you help me. Right. Yes. So I think if you're working with somebody that's a team, right, they need to be able to push you when you're not doing the things that you're supposed to do. Right. Yeah. And going towards the end of the year, I think this is where it's so important to where, hey, we don't wait to the last minute to get your tax strategy done, to get prepared for 2025 taxes. If we do that now, we can make something happen, right?
Yes.
And Carlton, I just love the partnership. I love what you have going on. All the time, I'm always recommending you, the team, about what you guys are doing. So I just appreciate everything you're doing for my family, and just appreciate the friendship, mentorship, everything, my friend.
I appreciate you too, my friend. And you nailed it on the head, right? Like, I paid for a financial advisor because I needed a coach in my corner to hold me accountable to investing and to make sure I wasn't leaving my money in my bank account. And you hired Tax Alchemy because you needed somebody to hold you accountable to the tax strategy side of it, making sure that you were doing the things that you need to do. But for Chris, and he shared this with you guys, it wasn't just about him. He needed to find a trusted advisory team for his clients. If any of you guys know how the financial service space works, is like when you're trying to service your client, you take ownership of like all of the relationships they need to go and have. So if you want your client to be able to, make more money in an investment, you know that they need to save more money on taxes. So you will take it upon yourself to go vet other CPAs and tax strategy firms for your client when you're a financial advisor, because you know that if you can solve that problem for them, you can create that retention. So Chris, I'm glad that you said that, and it's an honor to be able to serve you and any of the friends that you've shared over with Tax Alchemy.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, my friend.
I appreciate you too. Regina, how are you? It's so good to see you. Regina, I literally have a box of tissues right here next to you. Don't make me cry today, Regina. Don't make me cry today. I appreciate you so much, Regina. You and I have a special bond, a special relationship. If you don't mind, Regina, share with everybody your story, your background, what your profession is, why you decided to join Tax Alchemy.
Yes. So I joined Tax Alchemy a year and a half ago. It was a year anniversary in August, as a result of seeking the same information the current attendees are seeking. How can I keep more money in my pocket? I'm working harder, but it doesn't seem like I'm getting as ahead as I want to be. And I'm going to my accountant expecting answers when I'm not getting answers. Just as the previous gentleman said, I'm coming to my accountant with strategies that I'm finding online, and he's validating them for me instead of coming from him. So the defining factor for me was seeing an advertisement from you online, and you seem to have the answers I was looking for. I'm looking for someone with tax strategy. I am a physician. I'm a practicing OBGYN, and coming out of training as an adult student. So I went to med school at 30. I came out blazing. I'm already behind in terms of retirement planning and all of this. So I came out asking the questions, and I wasn't getting any answers. And here we are, fast forward 15 years into practice, and I'm still asking the same question. You can't expect a different answer if you're doing the same thing. So when I got your information, I said, hey, this sounds like the answer to the questions I've been having. Let me sign up for the 5-day challenge. And at the end of that 5-day challenge, I will say the things that really moved me to take that plunge and take a chance on me is the fact that you asked us to validate your credentials. And I was like, oh my gosh, people ask me that every day. They want to go onto the website and make sure that I'm a credentialed physician. He's inviting us to go to the IRS website, email IRS to validate that he is a tax strategist. So I was like, okay, that's wonderful. The next thing you mentioned was what you choose to invest in today is a tax strategy in itself. You're investing in yourself is considered an expense to your business. Why not invest in yourself? I was like, oh my gosh, that's wonderful as well. And then when you said that we could have access to people to be able to answer our questions, it's a group of folks of like-minded people. I just, it was hard to just expect something different, but not willing to take the chance. Mm-hmm. So I made the decision. We're going to take the plunge. I'll talk to the hubby later about it. And And we made the decision. And I decided to keep you to myself for a full year so that I could make sure that when I go and tell everybody, I can testify for myself it worked.
Yeah.
And it did. And what you said was, hey, if I do not save you twice the amount of money you're investing in today, I will give you your money back. I mean, that's a no-brainer. And it's a tax deduction for the business. I mean, these are things that you just can't, it's a no-brainer. So the bottom line is we filed and we got more than 3 times our return that we got the year before. And to fast forward, we've made some big decisions as a family. We just sold a home on Monday, created a 1031 exchange, and we are in the midst of purchasing 2 new properties with a partner with Tax Alchemy, Sadira Wealth. I have submitted resignation to my current employer to be able to move some changes so that it can be better for my family. So I'm super excited about that. And we should be able to do the movie investment as well as the Augusta rule, as well as a few other things before the end of 2025. So I'm looking for even a bigger return next year.
Oh my goodness.
So I am super excited. And I have told everyone that I can about the opportunity, and it's up to them. It's just up to each of you to decide, am I going to take a chance on myself? Am I going to invest in myself today?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to believe in yourself and you have to want it enough to do something different.
Yep.
You can't continue to do the same thing and you can't keep following. I've met a number of people who say, oh my gosh, I've been following him for 2 years. I said, well, what are you doing with that follow? How are we moving following into action?
Yes.
You have to make a decision. You can't keep being about it. You can't keep, you gotta be about it, not just keep
100%.
talking about it, be about it.
I love
So
that.
I am super excited to be here. I am blessed to have an opportunity to speak to the audience today. We are all looking for the same thing. We want to work smarter, not harder. We want to keep more money in our pocket. And we're trying to build wealth for our generation, our next generation, our future children and family. And what better way to do it now than to have access and work with folks who are experts at the tax code? If each of us have not already done so, those who are still thinking, go to the website and identify what a tax strategist does. The information is there. The information is there. So I encourage you to be bold enough to invest in yourself today.
Wow. Regina, that was incredible. And I'm grateful to be able to work with you. I'm grateful for your statement. I could tell Samila and Sergey were already, I just wanted to applaud you on that. I will say, Regina, it wasn't just us putting together a tax plan, though. You put in the work, too. And maybe you can speak to that really quick to let everyone know it's not just us putting a plan in front of you. It is really you having to execute on that plan as well.
You do. I mean, you give us the template, but in order for it to work, you have to put in the work. You have to, and you end up doing more than you realize you can do. But I would say COVID challenged all of us to do more than we thought we could do. And here we are 5 years later, and we're like, oh my gosh, we're in a better position than we were 5 years ago because we took a chance on ourselves. I mean, we got uncomfortable.
That's right.
Growth comes from being uncomfortable. And so
I believe the top 1% were willing to get uncomfortable to get into the top 1%. Don't you agree, Regina?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you want to be a millionaire, billionaire, 2-3 times millionaire, then you got to work among and do what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Can't keep talking about it. You got to be about it.
Regina, I want to share this with you. Not that, it's something that's going to get you excited or anything, but while you were talking, 5 members just decided to put down their deposit to join the private client group while you were talking.
Wonderful.
My
You won't regret it.
just notified me. So I just want to
You
say
won't
thank you,
regret
Regina,
it.
for coming on and speaking to people that were possibly on the fence and needed to hear that today.
Well, I'm happy to be here, and it's no coincidence.
Nope,
I
it
don't
never
believe in
is.
those either. No,
God,
sir.
God is good, Regina.
All the time.
All the time, like we say. I appreciate you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Of course. Thank you so much, Regina, for coming up. Guys, I
You're
can't wait for you
welcome.
guys to meet Regina and some of these other members that are up here today, because they have hearts of gold, as you can probably tell. A member who has been with me since I started my program, since I started my course, someone who has been able to give me insights into little itty bitty things I can correct and make better about my program, which has allowed for me to grow into the Carlton that all of you guys see here today. This person saw me when I had 100,000 subscribers, when I barely had any Instagram followers, and she believed in what I was doing, and she utilized a lot of the strategies, and she's been a part of every single challenge, almost every single webinar that I've ever put on. And I would say that she's probably the most avid Carlton Dennis fan, if not the most avid Tax Alchemy fan. JD Clement, how are you?
Hey, Carlton.
How are you, JD? It's so good to
I'm
have you
good.
here.
Good to talk to you.
Long time no see. We were just in Houston last weekend.
That's right. That's right. It was a great event in Houston.
It was cool.
really
I'm going to
good.
start doing more of those, JD. We need more meetups.
Yes.
We do. JD, you're one of the longest tenured Tax Alchemy Private Client Group members. So you get to share with somebody who, really wants to adopt a tax strategy firm for the foreseeable future and talk about the experiences that you've had year over year working with us.
So I, got to know you through the Tax Alchemy course.
That's right.
And I had done other real estate courses, so I was able to evaluate your course based on sort of the knowledge I already had. And the course was thorough, it was well put together, it was quality. So I knew that, it was a good investment, good information. So and I don't know if you remember the very first time we spoke, you were doing one of your coaching calls. And I asked a question about my mom's estate, the house in my mom's estate, and the hours managing her estate, and whether or not that would go towards real estate professional status. So that was the very first time we actually talked in person.
Yeah.
But the thing that I've seen, because I've had a chance to watch you grow, Tax Alchemy grow, Kyle and Yvette, being able to see the program that you put together, it's really been really special to watch you all grow. So I will say that I'm really proud of you, and the whole Tax Alchemy team, just to watch, to see where you started, where you are now, and a glimpse of where you're going in the future. So, people always ask me, why do I come back? Because I learn something new every time. I'm at a different place, but also, if you join Tax Alchemy, you will be kept up to date with the changes that are going on that affect us and our tax strategies. You could spend all that time trying to stay on top of that, or you can use your resources like Carlton and Kyle and Yvette to do that, and then bring that information to you that then you can incorporate into your tax strategy. And that's a better use of your time, to let the experts pull together the information for you, and then to help you assimilate that information and apply it to what you're doing.
That's right.
And so that's one of the things I've really gotten out of being a member of Tax Alchemy, knowing that, there are a lot of changes coming, they're coming quick, but I've got somebody who's on top of all those changes and monitoring those changes and then communicating those changes to me.
Yeah.
It's one thing to know that somebody's watching, but it's another thing for them to communicate it. So I'm a physician too. And in my training was see one, do one, teach one. So, and that's sort of like Tax Alchemy. We see Carlton do it, then we need to do it, and then we need to teach the next generation how to do it. so that we pass it along. Because if it stops with us, that's a dead end. It's got to keep going. And it's like money, it needs to flow.
I love that. You said see one, be one, teach one.
No,
Woo! Y'all better
see
go ahead.
one, do one, teach one.
You guys better write that down. JD coming up here throwing ninja tactics at you guys today to help you guys build well. That's just JD being on here. And JD, it's a pleasure being around you because every time I'm around you, honestly, I feel your energy. I feel like you're starting something new, you're working on a different project, and it reminds me of that same drive that I had when I was building Tax Alchemy. Because you're in a position where you can try different business models, you're in a position where you can bring different ideas to the marketplace. It's always cool catching up with you on what you're working on. JD, it's a pleasure to have you as a part of the private client group.
Thank you.
All right, Sean, I got you right there in the corner. How you been?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great today, Sean. We got a bunch of people on here today that are trying to make a decision around whether or not the private client group is the right fit for them. So, Sean, talk to us a little bit about your experience joining Tax Alchemy.
So I'm, I guess, the third physician on the panel. I've been an orthopedic surgeon for the past 25 years and have, as my accountant would say to me at tax time, well, it's a good thing to write those big tax checks because you make a lot of money. It's a good thing. And for 25 years, I just kind of took it. I said, well, I guess it is a good thing, but something inside of you knows is not right. So I had with a group now for about 5 years, and I have a combination of W-2 income from my salary. And we have a part ownership at a surgery center. So I had K-1 money as well. And so I was paying big tax withholdings on my W-2 wage, and I was writing big quarterlies every 3 months. And, it's a very sad time when you have to sit down and write that check. Very sad.
Yes, it is.
So, a couple of years ago, I started to sort of learn about some of this stuff and got involved with another firm. And we actually went so far as to set up a T formation with LLCs.
Yep.
I had a property that we built probably 19 years ago. And as the kids got older, we didn't use as much. So we decided to rent it. We had a management company doing it for us. So we're going to be taking that over in 2026. We're doing a big renovation on that. Yep. But anyway, so I set up all these structures with this other company, and it looked really good. And I thought I understood it. And then, like the call ended and I was like, what do I do with this stuff? And I didn't have there wasn't a good mechanism to actually have somebody dig in with you and your specific concerns to help you solve the problem. You could get on a call and they would say, well, give you very general information. And so I kind of felt like I had this great thing in my grasp. I just didn't know what to do with it. So I came across your tax-free wealth challenge about a year ago. So I spent the most beautiful weekend in Wisconsin in July, sitting in my office 3 days in a row watching your presentation, and I was gobsmacked. Once you join, you have access to all of this information, and you take everybody from here are the basics to here's some additional stuff, and it's in bite-sized pieces that you can look at for 15, 20 minutes, turn it off, digest it, play it again if you want to, move on to the next thing. And so I really appreciate the educational part of this, because every doc up here will tell you, like, our day-to-day is figuring out what's wrong with somebody is kind of part of the gig, but then trying to teach them about it. Yep. And what their options are. I mean, that you're educating all day long. Yep. When somebody can explain something to me, you got me. I'm all in, and it's been fantastic. Yeah. Had some kind of tough things happen with a crypto fraud scheme, and I had a huge loss last year. But the good news is that in 25, I stopped my federal withholdings starting in Q2. I haven't paid any quarterlies in all of 25, and I've got a pile of money carried over into 25. And I'm still rolling. I'm trying to figure out what more I can do now, even though I'm not going to have taxes next year. I want to let that stuff flow through to the following year and the following year. Ultimately, my goal is to learn this stuff, and as I go into retirement, learn it enough to sort of get my kids to understand and teach them things. So when I learn things, I get with them one-on-one, and by me explaining to them, each one individually, I'm learning what I don't know, and I go back and learn and come back and I clarify. So it's a continual process of trying to figure out how to play this game, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's been great, you know. And the thing is that the community is fantastic. When I used to get on a call or I'd send an email to, you know, my client manager, or I forget what they call themselves, I would get an email back a week later. Now I jump in Slack and I send a message, and about 3 minutes later, I'll get it to the right person. We'll have an answer for you in a little bit. And before I put the phone down, I get it pinged, and there's my answer. Or we're going to look into it and get back to you, and it's a day later I get an answer.
Yes.
So that Slack channel is unbelievable. I mean, 24/7, you just, something pops in your head in the middle of the night, you just send a message in Slack, you wake up and there's your answer.
Yep.
So it's been fantastic.
Communication is priceless. Regina just said that in the chat. Communication is priceless. Because a lot of us, you know, we have ideas at the randomest hours, and we've always wanted to have somebody that we could toss it to, but we don't just toss it to somebody that's super basic, that's going to give us surface level. We want somebody that's going to give us that like deeper understanding, almost like that Chat GPT deeper understanding. But I also need you to understand my financial situation, and I also need you to be the same person that also signs off on my tax return, because I can't afford to get in trouble with the IRS. That is what the Slack channel has been able to provide for you and a lot of the other members. And I'm grateful that we pivoted from basic emails like normal CPAs and having a system that can allow for us to communicate quicker, faster, in a more less formal setting, so we can get things done quicker.
Yep.
Absolutely. Sean.
That's worth the price alone, honestly. It really is.
Appreciate you saying that, man. Listen, all these members that are on here right now have the opportunity to join the private client group. We have 5 spots that are still available. And I want to ask Lena, that's here right now. Lena, welcome on up. Lena, you've been with me for a little over a year now. Maybe you can share with everybody why you decided to join the private client group. And there's 5 people that could possibly join tonight with those 5 spots left. What would you say to those 5 individuals?
I would say go ahead and do it. When I joined the group, I had just gotten horrifying news from my CPA. He waited until the last minute to file my taxes, and I owed over $600,000. And it completely floored me. I'm happy to report that my 2024 taxes have been done. And I've worked with Christina and a bunch of the others on the team. And I only owed for 2024 $30,000 for federal. And I'm actually getting a refund. Thank you very much. For the state of Maryland. So I'm just so excited. I will tell you, like, I ditto everything everyone has said. I have been looking for years. I've been in business for over 20 years, and just always having issues with taxes and things like that. And you know, your CPA will say, okay, we're going to set up a tax plan, then you never hear from them. And then it's just a continuous thing where every year they're rushing you, and then they tell you that at the end of, you know, by the time they come around to file the taxes, there's nothing that can be done. And I just love how Tax Alchemy systematically puts everything together. Whatever strategy they tell you or suggest for you to do, they actually have a systematic way of making it happen. Last year, I purchased 7 properties from Sedera. I went to closing the day before Thanksgiving. And before December 31st, I had met all of my STR requirements. And so when I tell you, like, I would not have been able to do that unless there was a systematic way of doing it. And so I just am so proud of being a part of this organization, and the the learning, the things. I mean, I'm a completely different person, you know, and so I just thank you all for just this opportunity. So go forward and do it. You will not regret it.
Lena, somebody put it in the chat. They just wanted to confirm what you said. So you went from owing $600,000 last year with your CPA, and then you said you got your tax bill down to $30,000 and you received a refund on the state side.
Yes. Yes, sir.
That's a $570,000 swing, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give a huge round of applause for Lena Bell. That is a wild tax savings right there. Absolutely amazing.
It's a pretty good return for 1 year, isn't it?
That was pretty good, right, Sean? I mean, like,
whoa. Pretty good return.
Lena, you said you bought 7 properties last year. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you signed escrow by November, like literally right before Thanksgiving.
The day before Thanksgiving. They sent someone to my house.
Yep.
They sent a notary to my house. I bought the properties in Texas. I live in Maryland. They sent a notary to my house.
Yep.
Closing. When I tell you that everything they do, they will not put you in a strategy unless they have everything systematically laid out.
Yep. We get it done, guys. I will say we do get it done. Some of you guys might only invest in 1 property by the end of the year. Some of you guys might invest in 2 properties by the end of the year. I want to let you know Lena got 7 done last year. So if you have this thought process that you can't do it, that you don't have enough time, we have the system in place that allows for you to be able to get it done. Lena shared that with you here today. Thank you so much, Lena, for coming up. And before I transition back to the screen, you guys didn't get an opportunity to hear from Tamila and Sergey because their internet cut out, but they're back here. I wanted to give them an opportunity to say hello to all of you guys. They're returning from a very special trip. They were on a safari in South Africa. They were sending me photos the entire time. Sergey apparently is a lion tamer now. He loves lions. So Sergey, if you don't mind, share with everybody, and Tamila, share with everybody why you guys decided to join Tax Alchemy, and why should someone consider putting a deposit down tonight knowing that we have 5 spots left?
Carlton, so I apologize for technical interruption. I hope you hear me okay. Yes, very good. So first of all, I wanted to say that joining your team was nothing but transformational. Completely agree with Regina that first you owe it to yourself. Be fearless. If not now, then when? Right? And this is really the time for you to do it. Even though we went to South Africa, this was actually our plan, philanthropical plan. Yep. We, through our private family foundation, we funded the trip and we went there, met with a couple of organizations, provided contributions. So we combined both business and pleasure being in the country. So wow. That's how you do things right now. Joining your team completely changed my mind, how to think about things, almost like reposition my compass. I hear a lot of doctors here presenting. I think lucky for you, you are not dealing potentially normally with financial reporting. I'm an accountant and I did not know that. So imagine how I felt when I learned that first, it's actually possible. And second, Carlton, Christine, Kyle can actually help you along the way to implement all of this. If you have questions, you have the experts and the community to really bounce ideas and creative ways of approaching different things. We never had that at all. And maybe the last thing I wanted to add, I took a note by looking at you, that the level of energy, when you look at Carlton, the level of energy, the likability, the knowledge, and most of all, the level of expertise is actually, this is what you have. He's not acting. This is exactly what you will get by joining. And I really enjoy every day as I'm hanging out with you and your teammates. So thank you so very much.
I appreciate you guys. I love talking to Sergey because him and I text all the time. And most of you guys will get an opportunity to have a relationship with me because I want to know each and every single one of you. I want to know what goes on in your personal lives. I want to know what goes on with your children. I want to know why you're doing this. Why does it matter for you so much to invest money with a tax strategy firm, to invest in real estate, to invest in oil and gas, to even consider putting money into a movie film? Why? And when your why becomes big enough is why you will make a shift to possibly even hiring a tax strategy firm like Tax Alchemy, to even looking at a conference like the Tax Free Millionaire Summit as a way to try to help you and your family reduce your tax bill. So I'm grateful to our inspiration panel for coming up. I want to give a huge round of applause to all of them. But like Tamila and Sergey said, we have other strategies to talk about, and Sergey brought up a very important strategy that I actually want to cover. If you guys are okay with it, put a yes in the chat box if I can go over this strategy. If you guys are okay with it, put a yes in the chat box if I can go over this strategy. I want you to write down in your financial literacy journal PFF. I want you to write down in your financial literacy journal PFF. Put done in the chat box when you have it done. This is an acronym. It stands for Private Family Foundation. How many of you guys see athletes all the time donating money to their foundations or donating money from their foundations? How many of you guys have seen during world disasters, all of a sudden, these rich celebrities will say, my foundation is doing this, my foundation is doing that? How many of you guys have seen it before? How many of you guys have ever wondered, like, damn, it seems like a lot of these athletes have foundations, but I never see them actually doing anything philanthropic? It's like every single NFL athlete has some type of charity, but what are they doing philanthropic? And I'm not saying that they don't want to be philanthropic, but doesn't there seem like there's some other play going on? And be honest, didn't you think that too? Put yes inside the chat box if you did. Put no inside the chat box if you think they're just giving all the money away. So here's what I want you to understand about the private family foundation. First off, the word, it's private. It's between you and your family. No one else has to know this exists. No one else has to know this exists. You can have what's called a non-performing PFF under 501c3 regulation. Carlton, isn't a 501c3 a non-for-profit? Yes, it is. Absolutely it is. But what if I told you that the private family foundation works differently than an average 501c3? Would you be interested in me telling you? Put a yes in the chat box if you would. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Andre. Okay, cool. So I want you to write this down. Write down 55, whoops. My mind's all over the place here today. Write down 30/5 rule. Let me know when you have this written down by putting done inside of the chat box. Okay? So, if I'm operating as an S corporation owner, same example that we went over before, right? I could place my children on payroll. If I'm operating as an S corporation owner, and let's say I had $1 million in net business profit, $1 million in net business profit, and let's say I'm in the highest tax bracket federally, which is 37%. And let's say I live in a state like California. I'm probably going to pay upwards to 45% between federal and state taxes. Put yes in the chat box if you would agree. If you live in California, you're going to pay upwards to 45% in federal and state, okay? So I'm going to have about $450,000 go out the door off of $1 million in net profit. What I could do is choose to take some of this $1 million as a distribution. And I could just transfer this money to myself. Now, let's say I transfer $300,000 as a distribution out of my S corporation. This $300,000 is not taxable when I take it out of my corporation in the year. I only pay taxes when I go to file my tax returns on that $1 million net profit. Does this make sense so far? Put a yes in the chat box if it does. Okay? So what I could choose to do is I could choose to set up another operation called a private family foundation. And I have the ability to roll over 30% of my adjusted gross income into a private family foundation for a year one tax write-off. Pretty cool. So if I'm netting $1 million in taxable income and I subtract $300,000 in a charitable donation, aren't I paying taxes off of $700,000 now net profit? Put a yes inside of the chat box if I am. Put no inside of the chat box if I lost you. Hold on a second. Whoa. Am I losing you right now? Are you locked in with me? Is there something more important than you saving money on your taxes right now that's going on your TV screen that you think that you can offload what you're learning with me right now? Do I have your undivided attention? Put yes in the chat box if I do. Thank you. All right. So If I just received a $300,000 deduction, I'm paying taxes off of this $700,000. This is my new taxable amount. So if I multiply the $700,000 times 45%, what do I get? Do the math, somebody put it in the chat box for me. What is 45% times the 700,000? Maybe I wrote this down earlier. Thank you, Olatusa Bruno. It's $315,000. So I went from paying $450,000 between federal and state to paying $315,000. How much money am I saving on my tax bill? $135,000. Okay, now, here's what I want your mind to be on. Think through this. Carlton, you just moved over money into a private family foundation. That's a 501c3. Don't you have to give all the money away? Are you thinking like this right now? Put yes in the chat box if you are. Put no in the chat box if your brain has turned into mush. You're thinking about this, aren't you? You're like, okay, well, what happened to the $300,000? Carlton, you put the $300,000 into the private family foundation. What happens to the $300,000? We have the 5% rule. 5% of the charitable assets that I put inside of the foundation have to be donated to another 501c3 other than myself. This could be a church. This could be the Cancer Research Society. This could be whatever. 5% has to be donated by the time I file the tax return, which the tax return for these foundations are due November 15th, 2026. Whoa. Now, if you're following with me here, if I have $300,000 sitting inside of my foundation and it's in the bank account, could I do what Tamila and Sergey did? And can I put on a fundraiser in Africa where I know that I'm going to be flying on a private, or maybe I decide to go first class, and I'm going to have some expenses associated with this fundraiser that I'm putting on in South Africa? Is this something I can use my foundation to pay for? Put yes in the chat box if it is. Put no in the chat box if it isn't. Maybe I want to set up water wells in South Sudan because I know South Sudan is struggling to have sustainable water for children who are going to middle school, which is what our client just recently did. So maybe I want to go build a water well in South Sudan. Could I use the money that's inside of my foundation to do that? Could I pay for myself to go out to South Sudan to do it? Could I pay for employees or pay for other people to go out to South Sudan with me? Okay, let's just say that I have $100,000 in expenses for me running my own fundraiser, for me running my own party of me wanting to raise more charitable funds in anticipation of me going to South Sudan, and I carried $100,000 in expenses. Now I have $200,000 sitting inside of my private family foundation. Do I have to pay 5% of 300 grand or 5% of the $200,000 now? Lawrence said, Carlton, I see where you're going with this. Lawrence, what if you have children, Lawrence, and your children want to get paid from the foundation because they're working in the capacity of the foundation as employees? Lawrence, could I pay your children from the foundation? Is this something I can do? Put yes inside of the chat box if it is, but no inside the chat box if it isn't. Lawrence, you're with me right now, right? What if I wanted my foundation to own assets like Bitcoin, gold, artwork, Real estate. Could Carlton Dennis donate his own Bitcoin to his own foundation? I mean, Carlton, it's charitable assets. You're placing it into your charity. It has value associated. Could I place gold inside of my foundation? Could I? Has anyone seen what the Kennedys, or not the Kennedys, not the Bushes, not the Kennedys, the Clintons. Has anyone watched what Bill Clinton has been doing with his foundation? He's been putting a lot of gold into his foundation. Bill Clinton? Artwork. Could I get art that I buy appraised and then donate the artwork to my private family foundation? Let's say I buy a piece of art for $50,000 and I get it formally appraised, it's worth $250,000. Could I then donate the piece of art to my foundation? Yes or no? Could I have real estate inside of my foundation? And my foundation owns assets? Pretty interesting. Now, what if I told you there's no capital gains taxes inside of a foundation? Would this interest you? If I buy and sell things in my foundation, I don't have any capital gains taxes? Carlton, I can write checks every single year to my own foundation. I receive a tax deduction. It's my bank account. I control the funds. If it buys assets and sells assets, there's no capital gains taxes? Is a foundation a wealth building tool, or is it just a tool to give money away? Let me know inside of the chat box. Because we were looking at this as like, oh, they're just giving money away. Rich people just want to give money away, Carlton. The Rock, when Maui and Hawaii flooded and they had the fires out there, the Rock's foundation, Oprah's foundation, everybody's freaking foundation came to save the day. Did they? Or maybe 5% of the charitable assets in their foundation actually did something. You never looked at it this way, did you? Did you join the Tax-Free Millionaire Summit so you can look at taxes differently? Did you join this summit because you were tired of looking at your tax returns and being like, damn, something has to change, but this person who's responsible for me paying this amount, he or she hasn't changed what they study, what they educate me on, what they provide to me. So now I have to change my operating basis and spend $300 and join a tax-free millionaire summit because I got to go learn something that my tax professional doesn't know. Damn. And here I am today, Carlton, learning about a private family foundation and how 30% of my adjusted gross income can go in before the end of the year for a tax deduction, and 5% has to be dished out by, not the end of the year, by November 15, 2026. Who gets more time, you or me? I want you to write this next strategy down. It's called the OYCC. It stands for Off Year C Corp. Are you getting bored of me talking about tax strategies yet? Or do you want me to keep going? Is this interesting you enough to where you're like, dude, I just want to stay here right now with him and let him do his magic? Or is this already starting to bore you to the point where you're like, dude, everything he's talking about is so over my head, I can't even sit here anymore? Or are you locked in with me right now? You're eating this shit up. You're like, dude, this is exactly why I signed up for this event. I'm with you. Here's what I need you to understand. This strategy is reserved. This is reserved for business owners who know how to really operate their capital. Let me share with you how I operate my Off Your C Corporation. Are you comfortable with me teaching you a strategy that I use every year when I haven't bought enough real estate, when I haven't put enough money into oil and gas, when I couldn't put all this money into movie films? This is the one last strategy I use right here. And this kicks the rest of my tax bill out the door. Are you ready for it? I want to see 100 yeses. And we'll go over this Off Your C Corporation strategy. I want to make sure you have it written down. Let me know if you have it. Okay, good. Now, same example. If I have an S corporation operating with $1 million inside of it, my tax bill is probably going to be at 45%. I'm going to pay $450,000 between Fed and state taxes off of $1 million. This is what you're looking at if you're in the state of California. Like, you're just going to get reamed off of making $1 million profit. Now, rather than donating money to a private family foundation, which, by the way, you would take a distribution and then you would donate money to a PFF, you would not move money between your business entity to a private family foundation. You would take a distribution personally, and then you would move money to your private family foundation. What if this wasn't a strategy that I wanted to do? What if I wanted to remain more liquid? What if I wanted to have access to the funds instead of the foundation having access to the funds? Because the only way you're able to use the money inside of the foundation if it's for philanthropic activities. You know this, right? You can't just go pull that money out of the foundation. It's a foundation. It's a 501c3. You need a reason to take money out of the foundation. You're following with me here? So what if I give you another strategy that keeps you more liquid? Would you appreciate being more liquid? Would you? Be honest. Put in the chat box liquid. If you would appreciate being more liquid, put liquid in the chat box if you would appreciate being more liquid. I want to be more liquid. I hate being illiquid because illiquid prevents me from investing. But if I'm more liquid, I can invest and give my dollars more than one job. So liquidity matters. And if you guys get on the phone with my tax team and you're trying to work with Tax Alchemy, we're going to make sure you have at least $100,000 of liquidity. So we know you can do some of the strategies we talk about because you need liquidity to do the strategies we talk about. Can you see that now? Now, what if I decide to set up a C corporation that manages over my S corporation? Why would you do that, Carlton? Well, maybe there's managerial tasks that I'm doing as a business owner, such as hiring, firing, marketing, ads, copywriting. Literally, I run an entire media company that supports Tax Alchemy. I'm not getting paid for all of that as an S corporation shareholder being a tax professional. So couldn't I, and be honest, couldn't I set up a separate company that sole job is to get paid for managing my company? For doing the jobs and responsibility that drive revenue to the firm, such as marketing, advertising, being the personality I am? Couldn't I set up a separate company that sole job is to help facilitate for this company? Could I do that? Put a yes in the chat box if I could. And be honest, put a yes in the chat box if I could, put a no in the chat box if I can. I'm about to teach you what wealthy people do when it comes to offsetting their tax bill, and I need to have your buy-in here right now. What if I told you that this C corporation doesn't have to file tax returns on the same year end as your S corporation does? Yes, a C corp has a 21% tax rate. But if you're operating as an S corporation owner, everything flows to your individual tax returns, which means you can pay as high as 37% federally. 37 minus 21, that's a 16% delta on the money I just moved to that corporation before I've done anything, isn't it? Put a yes in the chat box if you're following me. Put no in the chat box if you're lost. If you're in the 37% tax bracket and I move money over to a C Corp that files tax returns at 21%, you save 16% on your money so far. Is this something you understand? Put a yes in the chat box if it is. Now, your S corporation ends the year December 31st, when the ball drops in New York and we all celebrate and we cross over into January. And then you have 4 months, January, February, March, April 15th, to file your individual tax returns. And you have until March 15th to file your S Corp tax returns unless you're on extension. Does this make sense? Put a yes in the chat box if you're following me so far. Okay. You call me up. It's December. You hadn't done the film strategy. No time left to do the short-term rental strategy. No time left to qualify your wife as a real estate professional or your husband as a real estate professional. And you have an S corporation with operational income of $1 million plus, and you don't know what to do. You can give all the money away, but that doesn't make you profitable because you need some of that money to grow for next year. So I come to you and I tell you, I'm going to set up a C corporation for you here in the month of December. But here's the catch. When I set up this corporation, I'm not going to let this corporation end its year on December 31st like every other person ends its year on December 31st and they have to file their tax returns on April 15th. I'm going to set your C corporation to have a year end of September 15th, 2026. Well, why would I do that? Does anyone know? Why would I set up your C Corp for it to have a fiscal year end? I want you to write that down. Fiscal, F-I-C-S-C-A-L, year end of September 15th, 2026. Why? Why would I do that? James, Carlton, the tax hits at different times. James, you just nailed it. Everything that we're talking about here today comes down to timing, does it not? Tax planning. I'm planning not to pay taxes, Carlton. I'm planning to avoid taxes. I'm planning to mitigate my taxes. Everything we talk about is timing, is it not? Put a yes in the chat box if you agree. So, James, if I set your year end as September 15th, 2026, 4 months, October, November, December, January 15th of 2027 is when you file that C corporation tax return. Does that make sense? Carlton, if I'm looking at this correctly, you just bought me 9 months and 15 days for me to spend $300,000 that I moved into my C corporation management company, advertising company, media company. Carlton, couldn't I take that $300,000 out of the C corp? You could. You could loan it back to your S corp, which is non-taxable. Carlton, couldn't I just spin down the C corporation income all the way up until September and use it towards my operational entity? Yes, you could. Carlton, you're buying me time. Yes, I am. Is that what you want? Isn't that what you want? Aren't you trying to build wealth more rapidly? Don't you care about building wealth more rapidly? Ask yourself this question. Is there anything wrong with building wealth at warp speed? Is there anything wrong with that? Because if I didn't have to write that check to Uncle Sam, I know I'm pocketing the same amount of money that I would have pocketed if I did the private family foundation strategy. But the difference is, Carlton, in the C Corp, I get the liquidity. I get to use the money myself, not the foundation. Does that make sense? Let's jump to the slides here, Corey. Let's jump to the slides here, Corey. Thank you. We have this notion that it is wrong to make money fast. And if I could go back and talk to the 20-year-old Carlton, you know what I would tell him? I know exactly what I would tell my 20-year-old self. I would tell myself, Carlton, you're going to make a massive amount of money. You're going to make a lot of wealth. But guess what? I want you to get there faster. I want you to get started now. Because Carlton, if you can start now, if you can cut out the distractions and you can get clear on your vision, guess what? You get to spend more time with family. But you're going to have to eliminate the parties. You're going to have to eliminate the excessive drinking. You're going to have to eliminate the wasted time scrolling on social media and the internet. And you're going to have to get started today so you can start spending more time with your family. You're going to have to buy back your time, Carlton. This photo that I'm sharing with you guys is at Les Serenus, a hotel in the Amalfi Coast, where I got the opportunity to take my mother and my father and flew them out to Italy. How many of you guys have ever been to Italy? Italy is one of the most beautiful places in the world. I fell in love with Italy. As a matter of fact, right after we left Positano, we went across to the island over the back of our shoulders to Capri, and we spent an entire 5 days in Capri. And by the time I got home, my wife was pregnant, and we named our daughter Capri. Beautiful, right? You know what was beautiful? What was beautiful is that because I sacrificed, I had enough money to fly my mother and father out to Italy on a first-class flight and spend 2 weeks with them in Europe. Not a weekend, not 5 days, 2 weeks. These are the steps that my mother and father had to walk down to get all the way down to the ocean, because when you're in Positano, you don't really travel on that one road. Sometimes you take what's called a water taxi. And a water taxi will transition you from different parts of Positano to Amalfi to Sorrento, all the way to Capri. And guess what? It takes a long time going up and down those stairs. I don't know if I'm going to be able to take my mom back to the exact same spot we went to, because my mom just had hip replacement surgery and she had a foot surgery. I never in a million years would have thought my mom would have needed a hip replacement surgery or a foot surgery. But you know what I'm grateful for? I'm grateful that I was able to buy the memory. Even if we can't go back to the exact same place, the exact same steps, guess what we were able to do? We were able to secure a memory. This is why I have to tell you, you have to get started now. Because if you sacrifice now, you put in the work now, you get to spend the time with your family later that you want to spend. But the issue that we all have is we think we have all of this time, like we're going to live till we're 100 years old, like our parents are never going to get sick, like we're never going to get sick, like we're never going to get the phone call that someone died. And I get it. Carlton, money isn't everything. We shouldn't focus only on money. Yeah, but money sure does solve a lot of things, doesn't it? Doesn't it? So the reason why you are studying tax strategy and tax code is not because you like this shit. It's not. Don't fool yourself. It's because you want to buy back your time. That's why you study this. And the secret to rapid wealth creation, the secret is that time is infinitely more valuable than money. I could prove it. Imagine if you made $25,000 a year for the next 40 years. You would have $1 million, wouldn't you? Put yes in the chat box if you would. But if you made $1 million over 40 years, would you be rich? If you made $1 million over 40 years, would you be rich? Yes or no? You wouldn't, would you? Same person, person B who made $1 million in 1 year. He's 40 times richer than person A simply because he made the money in 1 year. The issue that I see is that it's not that we don't care, it's that we operate with no urgency. We operate as if we're not going to die someday. But when you decide to place your heart on wisdom, you know what ends up happening? It brings its sidekicks with them: wealth, leadership, and authority. So today's the day I'm going to ask you, are you ready to buy back your time? Because if you only focus on trading your time for money, you can't create wealth at warp speed. This isn't what the 1% focus on. You may think that saving money on taxes is so you can have more money to buy more stuff. A new car, a new house, more clothes. But let's be honest, none of you guys need more shit. Be real with me. None of you guys need more stuff. Put yes inside of the chat box if you agree. What you really need is more money so you can buy more time. Put yes inside of the chat box if you agree with me. Put time inside of the chat box if that's what you're looking for. More time. Who is this person that's on the screen here right now? Anybody? Mr. Buffett. One of the world's wealthiest men, right? Big time, we call him. We call him Mr. Big Time Buffett. How many of you guys would trade places with Warren Buffett right now if I told you, hey, you can become Warren Buffett today. You can trade places with Warren Buffett. How many of you guys would love to trade places with Warren Buffett? Put yes in the chat box if you would. Put no in the chat box if you wouldn't. I see a lot of no's. Julie, Theo, Susan, Veronica. You say no. I know you would say no every single time. Why? Because you know you have more time on this earth than someone who is 93 years old. So your time is infinitely more powerful than Warren Buffett, even though he is wealthier than you. Wouldn't you agree? Put yes in the chat box if you do. Now, let me make something really real for you. Let's say that you only had 3 weeks to live. And you have $1 million sitting inside of your 401k account. And the doctor comes into the room and they said, hey, Justin, Eureka, Benita, we have this experimental drug that we want you to try. We've been running a trial with other people, and it's been working out successfully. Are you willing to do this? What are you going to do? You got 3 weeks to live. Are you going to pull the money out of your 401k account, or are you going to leave it in there? What are you going to do? You're going to pull it. Pull it in the chat box if you're going to pull it. You are going to pull it because you know your time on this earth is infinitely more valuable than money that's sitting inside of your 401k account. You are going to pull it. Just like my mother did when she pulled out $1.8 million out of her 401k account to keep my grandmother and my grandfather on this earth an extra 16 months. She pulled it. Would you? Today, this isn't about figuring it out on our own. Because today we can hire experts, we can hire teachers to save us time who have already done it. Because professionals, they have the tools, they have the knowledge, and guess what? They have the experience to get us there faster. Don't you agree? Last year, I played golf for about $5,000, $7,500 a golf game. Outside of me playing golf, I charged $10,000 an hour for consulting. Some of you guys on the call today would say, Carlton, that's expensive. It may be expensive to you, but for me, that's just my hourly rate. It's $10,000 an hour. I know exactly how expensive my time is, which means if I tried to trade my time to go cut my lawn, it would cost me $10,000 an hour to cut my lawn. But instead, I hired somebody for $100 a month who cuts my lawn, and now I get my time back spending it with my family. I purchase my time back. Do you do this in your life in any capacity? Put a yes in the chat box if you do, and tell me what you do it on. Time is infinitely more powerful than money. Time is infinitely more powerful than money. In California, we have Costco's almost in every single county. And people will drive 15, 20, 25 miles to get in the Costco line, the Costco gas line, to save 15 cents less than Arco. Why? Because they think it's worth it, do they? They're willing to trade their time to go get a little bit of tank of gas. Not me. I figure out what I'm not good at, I list it out, and then my goal is to hire professionals that can buy back my time. This is what wealthy individuals do. My wife and I are considering hiring an executive chef. And here's the reason why. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't like to cook and clean all the time. I'm great at cooking, but because I'm great at cooking, there's always a mess. I'm using multiple ingredients. I'm not just using the oregano that comes out of the can. I'm getting the fresh oregano. I'm getting the fresh green onions. I make a mess sometimes when I cook. And me and my wife thought, if we hire an executive chef, every single night we would be able to sit there staring at each other, talking about each other, looking at each other, and to me it is infinitely more valuable than me cleaning dishes every single night because I can buy back my time. Does this make sense? But I hear people all the time, Carlton, I have over 20 years doing this. I have over 20 years being a doctor. I have over 20 years driving this forklift. No, you don't. You have 2 weeks of training repeated over 20 years. It doesn't take 20 years to learn how to drive a forklift. It doesn't take 20 years to learn how to become a surgeon. So the value of life is not in the number of years doing a set thing, but it's the number of years, it's the time you spend with your loved ones and spending it with the people you care about the most. Please understand this. Because if you think the value of your life is associated to how many years you've been a doctor or a surgeon or a physician, you're missing the frickin' point. That's not what makes your life valuable. What makes your life valuable is your time with your family. When I was 25 years old, I was making $59,000 a year working at my mother's firm as a sales rep. I hadn't figured it out yet, but I went to one of her live events, and my mom was teaching everybody about investing in real estate and doing depreciation. And one of her clients came up to me and handed me this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And to be honest with you, I felt like I could sum up that book very simply. The book literally broke down 3 things. It broke down how poor people look at money, how middle class people look at money, and how rich people look at money. Are you okay with me explaining this to you? Put a yes in the chat box if you are. It's very simple. The book talked about the purpose of money and that poor people think the purpose of money is for paying bills. And then the book taught me that the middle class think that money is for paying bills, paying bills on time, having good credit, and being able to spend money on things that you cannot afford. And the rich understand that money is for turning it into more money. The purpose of money is to turn it into more money. And by the way, the rich, they accumulate assets. And you know what follows assets? Cash flow. Here's the issue I had. In 2017, I was my only asset. I was my only asset. How many of you guys right now are your only asset? And be honest. I was my only asset in 2017. I didn't have any assets yet. But a year later, after I read that book, guess what happened? I went from making $54,000 a year to $3,400 a week, $176,000 by the age of 25, almost turning 26. I flipped the entire script. And now I was able to invest in my first rental property because I actually had disposable income. And you know what I said? I said, wow. That's pretty cool. This is pretty easy. And then I said, wow, backwards. And then I turned it upside down and I called my mom and I said, Mom, That was easier than I thought. And you know what my mom said? She said, Carlton, slow and steady is never going to win the race. You think wealthy people make money looking at the slow and steady ways to compound their income? Or do you think they're making wealth at rapid speeds? Do you think the wealthy are just parking money into their 401k and making 8% a year? Or do you think they're making wealth at rapid speeds? Let me know in the chat box what you believe. She told me, Carlton, if they can figure it out, you can figure it out too. They have the same resources that you have, Carlton. They have the same access that you have, Carlton. She said, Carlton, you do not have to be imprisoned by your past experiences unless you're unwilling to transfer your expectations or the expectations of someone who is responsible for you. The poor and middle class pay for things with money they exchanged for time. So it feels like they're sacrificing their life when they make payments, because they are. Does this make sense? You see, the rich pay for things with creativity. The rich come up with an idea and they bring that idea to the marketplace. The rich bring an idea to the marketplace, they make money from it, and guess what? That money turns into another asset. That asset can help pay for a new car, a new vacation, but they walk away with the knowledge. And part of the reason why the poor can never get to the rich class and why the middle class can never get to the rich class, because when it comes time to pay for things, they think I don't have the resources. It's not about having the resources, it's about how resourceful are you. People who think they lack access, no, they don't. They only truly lack awareness. And I pray to God every day, God, please just let me see the opportunities that are already out in front of me, Lord. Because I know sometimes it's not about me needing more access, it's just about me being aware of what's around me. Because if I can just see what is around me and become more creative and come up with that strategy, guess what? I can get out of my circumstances. I can get there faster too. Wealthy people aren't making 100 times more money than you because they've solved 100 times more problems than you. They're working 100 times harder than you. They're 100 times smarter than you. That is not what it is. They have figured out something that works 100 times better than you. And they're willing to repeat it over and over again. So what I'm going to ask is that you stop driving the vehicle of your life down the highway of experience with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. I want you to accelerate into the curves and start to trust, because you're made in the image of God. Your imagination will find a solution. Today you have an opportunity, just like yesterday, to join our private client group. And yesterday we had the opportunity to go over this offer. In case you didn't get an opportunity to hear it, our clients are able to receive one-on-one tax planning training with us. We start next week with a kickoff call that will allow for us to understand your entire financial picture. This will allow for us not only build out a tax plan for 2025, it will also allow for us to build out a tax plan for 2026. How many of you guys know you're going to make just as much income, if not more, next year? So you're going to need a plan for next year too. Put yes in the chat box if that is you. So we have to get to a delivery call where we deliver the plan with you, with one of my licensed tax strategists that can implement strategies with you. But we're not just going to have one implementation call, and we're not going to get it right on 2 calls. We're going to have 4 implementation calls, because you're going to implement strategies with us now, and you're going to implement strategies with us next year. Communication is important because it's the lifeblood of how we help people save money. But if we only communicated over email, it's hard to save money over email, because guess what? Everything is so formal. You don't want to open up and share with us what's really going on in your life, how you really feel, because guess what? You're typing out a formal email saying, Dear Carlton, dear tax alchemist strategist, and you're not telling us what's really going on. But when you're in a private Slack channel with only your dedicated tax strategist talking to you, and they know your entire financial picture, you tend to be more forthcoming. You tend to share, yes, I did take a business trip. How do I write it off? Hey, I'm getting ready to go to the dealership. I want to buy a car. Can you help me figure out which is the best one? Me and my children want to go to Europe. How do we make this deductible? What would it mean to you to be able to send that message off in a private Slack channel and you get a response back within 5 minutes, or better yet, in an hour, giving you exactly the instructions on how to do something? Would you be able to save money in real time? Every day, somebody is getting exposed by the IRS because of the way in which they structure their entities. Every day, a business owner is receiving a lawsuit because of their inability to have inside and outside liability protection. And on Monday, we went over what it meant to have a charging order protection entity. And we built together a T formation structure. How many of you guys were able to complete that homework? Put done inside of the chat box if you got it done. But even though you got it done yourself, you were sitting there thinking, you know, this may not look the exact way I would want it to look. I'm not sure if the LLCs are flowing right. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to have a parent company yet. Do I have a parent company that's an S Corp? Should it be a partnership LLC? Carlton talked about a foundation today. Do I need one of those? Where does my trust fit into the fold? How many of you guys would much rather have the Tax Alchemy team build out your entire entity flow? Whether it's having a revocable living trust, having your operational entities on the left-hand side, having your assets all flow in one seamless entity structure for you. And we build on top of that structure every year as you acquire new assets or sell assets. What would that mean to you? Would you feel more confident as you're making money? Would you feel more confident as you're taking deductions? Rather than having to send you paperwork and letting you set up those LLCs on your own, letting you make the mistake of putting your primary residence address on any of the documents, would it be more beneficial if the Tax Alchemy team set up those LLCs for you? That we jump on a Zoom call with you and we fill out the documents and you just confirm everything? Do you think that would be appropriate for you? Put a yes in the chat box if it would. When our clients work with us, they're not filling out the LLC documents themselves. We're filling it out with them. They're not setting up their Wyoming parent company themselves. We're setting up their Wyoming parent company for them. Real estate is probably one of the biggest strategies that you learned over these last 3 days. Put real estate inside of the chat box if you're planning on using real estate to mitigate your tax bill and to grow long-term wealth. Put real estate inside of the chat box if you would love to work with the Tax Alchemy team on getting your first investment property or another. Real estate is a big focus of our firm because my mother invested in real estate. It rubbed off on me. I invested in real estate. I became a real estate tax strategist. It's not the only strategy I utilize. It's just a big part of what I teach. But the hand-holding process that we've incorporated as a part of Tax Alchemy gives me the confidence to say, even though you're signing up today, even though you're putting down your $5,000 deposit today, I know I have plenty of time to help you get your short-term rental between now and the end of the year and get your 100 hours. Because I've done it. I've done it multiple times, and you got to hear from some of our clients like Lena Bell, who was able to close escrow the day before Thanksgiving on 7 short-term rental properties, and she was able to get it fully furnished and managed. We provide not only the resources, we provide not only the roadmap, hell, we will do it with you. And that do it with you is exactly what you think. They're actually there. They're not telling me that they're there. No, they're actually there. So if we decide to go into real estate this year, would you want to have my team helping you find the property, locate the property, close escrow on the property in the name of an LLC? And would you want us to handle the cost segregation study as well? Put yes in the chat box if you would. Because that's what we're offering here today. Weekly coaching calls, weekly office hours, that's already a part of our program. But what you get is a team of dedicated strategists that are willing to come on and sit down with you in a whiteboard setting just like I did here today and guide and educate you every single day. When you sign up to join our private client group today, you're not going to pay the price that you see here on the screen, even though it's worth arguably more than this price. Today and today only, you will pay $50,000. This investment is a complete tax write-off. You can deduct this as legal and professional fees on your tax return. This will encompass your 2025 and your 2026 tax plan, so you don't have to worry about paying for a tax plan for next year. And this will allow for me and my team to file your personal and your business tax returns covered in the fee if you have a business entity and an individual return. This gives me ultimate discretion to be able to guide you and educate you in the way that you want to be guided and educated, but also be able to implement all the strategies that have availability to reduce your tax bill in our tutelage prior to December 31st. And more importantly, I put my money where my mouth is. When you onboard into the private client group, my guarantee to you is that we will save you more than the $50,000 that you invested for 2025 and 2026 tax planning, or you pay absolutely $0 and get 100% of your money back. Not 50%, not 25%, all of it back. So question, is this a good enough offer for you to be able to say, I want to jump into tax planning? Does this give you the confidence to say, wow, this team really wants to be able to help me, even to the point where if I don't save the 50 grand, they're just going to give me the money back? And more importantly, I don't have to worry about just emailing back and forth with somebody. I have a dedicated Slack channel now. I don't have to worry about picking up the phone and calling. I can show up to office hours, text message my CPA, and if I want to, hop on a call right there. I don't have to worry about whether or not I missed money on prior tax returns, because they're going to look at my prior tax returns and let me know whether or not I need to refile. I don't have to worry about getting a bunch of cookie cutter tax strategies that my CPA or ChatGPT could have given me, because they're going to build a custom tax plan down to my numbers and my financial situation. Gone are the days of me trying to create my own flow charts inside of Excel or Lucid. They're going to build out my entire entity flow chart for me. They're going to set up my LLCs for me. They're going to do the cost segregation study for me. They're going to hold my hand through the rental purchase process for me. So I don't have to stress. You're tired of doing things alone. You're tired of being the smartest person in the room. You're ready to come join a room of other individuals that are growing their wealth and putting their investments in the right place. That is what we have in the Tax Alchemy community. We have over 900 individuals that are inside of our private client group. That being said, today, you have the opportunity to join our private client group for a 100% money back guarantee. And in the unlikely event you receive a notice, the IRS calls one day, whether it's now or in 2027 or 2030, we provide you 100% audit protection. If that notice comes in, which it won't, that's our notice to deal with. If that audit happens, which it probably won't, that's our audit to deal with, not yours. Does this make sense? Put a yes in the chat box if it does. So essentially, I'm guaranteeing your success with this offer. I'm guaranteeing your success with this commitment. But this commitment is not for everybody. Tax Alchemy works with sophisticated taxpayers. When you have made over $400,000 in income, tax planning starts to become a very important thing for you. But liquidity is also just as important, because you need the liquidity in order to do some of the strategies that I talked about here today. If you're going to invest money into an investment property, that's a down payment, 20%. If you're going to park money into oil and gas, that's an investment with a minimum of 50 grand. If you're going to go into a movie film, you need at least $25,000, even though you're getting a 4X. Real estate is the biggest of the expenses. But there are other expenses that don't have to be as expensive in order for you to save as much as real estate. Have I shown you that here today? Have I? So my goal as a tax strategist is to bring opportunities to you that you thus wouldn't have had. Is to simplify the complex. Is to help you master the mundane, documenting your expenses, not commingling, using code section 162A to your advantage. Helping you create the right type of asset protection for you and your family. Not just for today, but for a legacy, because it's not just about the transfer of assets, is it? It's about the transfer of information. This, what you learned here today, you didn't just learn this selfishly for yourself, did you? How many of you guys have already started to share some of the information I've taught you over these last 48 hours with another peer? How many of you guys have shared some of this information I've taught you with a colleague? How many of you guys have already called up a business partner, a friend, and said, shh, we have to do this? No, you don't get it. We have to do this, or we just keep paying. It's dumb to keep paying. It is, it is literally unpatriotic to not do this now. It's right there in the code. Either we want it or we don't. So, my job between now and the end of tonight's training is to not only congratulate those members who have decided to join the private client group, but to spend time with those of you guys that have questions as it pertains to joining the private client group. So before I transition here and we open it up to Q&A, I want to take the opportunity to thank those members. Jared, you sent them over to me, right? Okay, cool. I want to thank the members that have already joined the private client group. And if I call your name right now, I want you to put I joined inside of the chat box, because we know those that have taken action. We know those that are serious. They're not just curious anymore. Like, Carlton, I was curious on the other side. Now I'm all the way in. I want to congratulate you. Congratulations to Hector Del Aguila. Congratulations to Hector. Are you here today, Hector? There he is. Congratulations, Hector. Congratulations to Camila Cortesi. Congratulations to Camila. Congratulations to Kathy Story. Congratulations to John Guidos. Congratulations to Ronald McCall. Congratulations to Albert Wiggins. Congratulations to Anthony Nasheed. Congratulations to Sheila Absbury. Congratulations to Nancy Collins. Congratulations to Juan Higueras. If I'm saying congratulations to you, put I joined inside of the chat box. Congratulations to Maureen Pachek. Congratulations to John Woodard. Kingston Akra, who we brought up yesterday. Congratulations, Kingston. Darren Pham, congratulations on joining the private client group, Darren. Terry Swanson, are you here today? Congratulations on joining the private client group. Diana Aguilar, Rick D. Bianchi, congratulations on joining. Christopher Morel and Luke Sazone, congratulations on joining the private client group. We have a Ryan Beal here today. Congratulations, Ryan Beal. Hormero Soto, congratulations, Hormero Soto. Ezra Jones. Julia Morris, congratulations to Ezra and Julia. Tina Valdez, congratulations, Tina. Joshua Umo, congratulations, Joshua. Christine Ing, congratulations to Christine. Joanna Justino, congratulations to Joanna Justino. Are you here? Tony McAllister, if I'm calling your name right now, put I joined inside of the chat box. Brian Curtis, congratulations to Brian Curtis. William Perry, congratulations to William Perry. Elizabeth Lee, are you here today? Congratulations to Elizabeth. Fang Zhu, congratulations to Fang. James Young, congratulations to James Young on joining the private client group. AJ Del Pino, congratulations to AJ. Crystal Muara and Shijoki Saribe, congratulations to you guys. And here is a list of a few others that decided to join. Do we have a Mark Moss here today? Congratulations to Mark Moss. Put I joined inside of the chat box if I'm calling your name. Sue Forthwith. Sue has been commenting inside of the chat box. Sue, I have seen all of your comments. I love all the questions you've been asking. Congratulations to Sue Forthwith. Mike Sagaro, our MLB star that has all the MLB connections. Congratulations to Mike Sagaro. Jennifer Maher. Jennifer has been here since the beginning. Congratulations to Jennifer on getting her private client group set up. Is there a Jose Vasquez here? Congratulations to Jose Vasquez. Is there an Adam Teti? Adam, are you here today? Congratulations to Adam. Melissa Loy. Melissa, are you here today? Congratulations to Melissa. Daniela, I don't have a last name on this, but is there a Daniela in here that decided to join the private client group? Daniela, if you're here with us, go ahead and put I joined inside of the chat box. A Wen Ling Shu. Winling, are you here today? Daniela Labinotti, congratulations, Daniela. Congratulations, glad you're here today. Is there a Luis Caro here? Luis, are you here with us? And last but not least, Ardini Tandaya. Ardini, you just joined less than 30 minutes ago. Congratulations to Ardini. Now, I'm going to bring up one of my business associates and president of Tax Alchemy, Kyle. We're going to hang out here for a little bit. If you guys have questions, we will go ahead and jump to those questions right now. And if you don't mind, feel free to raise your hand. What we'll do is we'll bring you backstage. It'll give us the opportunity to be able to call on you to bring you up. And similar to what we did yesterday, we're going to hang out here for maybe a few hours and answer as many questions as we possibly can, knowing that today is the final day of the Tax-Free Millionaire Summit. Now, I do have a special gift for all of you VIPs, and I know you guys probably weren't expecting this, but one of my friends in the tax space, his name is Carter Cofield. He's one of the CPAs who I've had an affinity for since the moment me and him connected. He said, Carlton, I saw that you're putting on the Tax-Free Millionaire Summit. I want to come teach a strategy called the self-rental strategy. Do you mind if I come on and teach a bonus training for you guys tomorrow? I said, listen, Carter, I love the enthusiasm, but I don't know. Let me ask the members. I don't know if they're going to want another training on a Friday. So let me ask all of you guys, if I were to come back on tomorrow with one of my best buds to teach a tax strategy called the self-rental strategy, would that be something you would be interested in? Would it? Or would you rather enjoy your weekend and get started on your margaritas for the weekend? Or would you rather come back and be like, dude, I'm locked in for tax building. I want to be able to build my wealth with some more strategies. How many of you guys would rather lock in? So here's what I'll do. If I get 200 yeses or 200 locked in, if you're locked in with me for tomorrow, I'll send out a notification. You guys will get it over text message and email. And I'll invite you to our Zoom room tomorrow at 5 p.m. Yes, it'll be 5 p.m. on a Friday. And I will teach you a strategy that we haven't covered this week. It'll be called the self-rental strategy. I'll have my buddy Carter on, and we'll break down the entire lesson. And in the meantime, let's tackle some questions as they come in. Let's go ahead and put the offer back on the screen, if we can get that up. And Kyle, if you could, let's just tackle them as they come in.
All right, sounds good. And I hope everybody's pretty fired up about that presentation tomorrow. That self-rental strategy, it is going to blow your minds. All right, it looks like we already have a question. Andrea.
Yes,
welcome
hi.
on in.
Hi, I'm Andrea.
Oh, you went on mute.
It's going to ask you to unmute, Andrea.
There you go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, much better.
Awesome. So I'm from Texas, and thank you guys so much for these 3 days. They've been amazing. So we have a landscaping company, and we are an LLC C Corp. My question is, can we switch before the year end to an S Corp? And can we deduct my husband's salary even though he wasn't on payroll for the whole year as an S Corp, or is it too late for that?
At this point in the year, it is more likely that we would get an approval on a late C election, more likely for 2026. Yeah. Now, even if, because late S elections versus C elections, there are some different rules and regulations that apply. If it was an S Corp, or if we were trying to do a transition from LLC to S Corp, we would still be able to do a late S election.
Yeah.
For a late C election, we're more going to target for 2026, but it doesn't mean that, of course, there's nothing else that can be done for this year, because we can still look at, okay, what potential deductions can we take advantage of within a C corporation as the entity is currently structured? We could consider a management company like the income shifting strategy Carlton discussed just a little bit ago, and also even thinking about nonprofit strategies like the Family Foundation that Carlton also just recently went over. You can contribute to a nonprofit, even your own, from the C corporation and have that deduction be taken under the C corp itself.
That's true. Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. And then another question. So from 2023, we had a CPA and we paid a bunch of taxes for that year. And last year, I didn't want to pay that much, so we did our research. And this lady actually did a return, but she filed it under my husband's social security instead of the LLC. So we're a little confused on that because do you recommend us closing that LLC with the C Corp and starting a brand new one as an S Corp next year or no? Okay.
Go for it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. No, I don't, but I would recommend that moving forward, we file underneath the EIN number. What's done is done. They already logged it as being underneath your social security number. So even if I amended the return and refiled it under your EIN, it was already accepted with your social security number. So like that year is done, but every year moving forward, we can fix, right? So let's just say you haven't filed, which you haven't, right, for 2025. So next year come 2026, when we file for 2025, we need to make sure that we're filing under the EIN number instead of the social security number. And then to your point, Andrea, let's see where the profit's at for this year, right? Because if the profit exceeds 50,000, maybe we'll just sub S chapter you when we file the returns. I want you guys to write this down. When we file late S elections after the year is already over, we do this in a very special way. It's called a Rev Proc pursuant to 20-13. It is a specific process on how we can submit a late S election attached to the front of your individual tax return. 99% of all tax professionals have no idea that you can even do a late S election past the year already being done. So I can retroactive a late S election back to January 1st for 2025 for you, even though I may be in January of 2026. And so I just want to make sure we said that because we might be in an opportunity, Andrea, where we might S-select your LLC by the time it gets filed.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
Great questions.
For someone that put in the chat box, can you repeat that?
That was pretty.
AJ said, Carlton, he can list this stuff off so unplanned. I have the right team now. I love that. All right, Eureka, if you want to write this down, it is Rev, R-E-V -proc. So revenue procedure 20-13. Yep. Dinah just put it in there for you.
Wow, that was quick.
WebProc 2013-30 governs late S corporation elections, similarly required. There it is. Thank you, Dinah. Appreciate you. Next question.
We got Benita.
Benita,
Yes.
how are you?
Good, good. Thank you for having me on, Carlton. I just want to tell you, every time I see you come through my feed, and I'm sending that right on to my sons. I have 3 sons, and my youngest is 18. Just a little bit about me before we go into it. First, I'm in Virginia, and I am not really having a major tax issue right now, but because of a shift of things that I'm doing right now or will be doing, I think that I will. And so I'm one to like to prepare ahead of time.
Of course.
I work at a university as an administrator. I make just under $200,000 a year. I have a property, a home that I purchased a couple of years back in South Carolina. The biggest thing for me is that I'm at a point where I have to make a decision to sell that house to avoid capital gains, or I need to either make that a rental property and do what I need to do with it. I've heard you say on your videos before about possibly using those, the equity within that to purchase more. I'm not familiar with all of this. I need to have an idea and a plan for that, and I'm one that really needs to see that plan to drive it. And so my question is, what would you recommend, or what would you recommend for me at this particular point? Someone who really don't have a whole lot of tax issues right now. I really use the tax shelters right now, but I think I'm going to run out fairly soon.
Yeah, great. I'm glad that you brought this to us. So first off, congrats on getting into a property. It sounds to me like, I don't know, are we attached to the property? Maybe not so much. If you're considering selling it, maybe it's not, the most desirable asset. So let's get clear on, is this property an A, a B, or a C? If it's a C, we need to get rid of it. If it's a B, we need to improve it. If it's an A, we need to keep it, right? So I want to get very clear on how that property serves you. Let's say if the property is not serving you anymore, does it make sense for us to sell the property right now? At the end of the year, maybe you can possibly get a buyer to buy it right at the end of the year, but then you're going to have the capital gains that you need to offset right away. Whereas if you sell it right at the beginning of the year, which is a perfect time to sell real estate, now we have 365 days to try to figure out how to mitigate the capital gains associated with the sale of that home. Before we decide to sell, though, you did make something very important as a comment. Carlton, I've heard you talk about leveraging the equity inside of the property. So what that would look like is either a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, or a cash out refinance, where we're looking to take cash out of the property, refinance the loan, pay off the old debt, and now we have the additional liquidity to go possibly reinvest into something else. But to be completely honest with you, I wouldn't recommend doing a cash out refinance unless you told me, Carlton, I have good equity in this property. Like, I got some substantial equity in this property that I want to tap into. I don't know how to tap into it. That's when we look at doing a cash out refi or a HELOC. If we're not going down that route and we're trying to dispose of the property, I would look at wanting to dispose of the property in early 2026, giving myself tons of runway time for me to figure out how to mitigate the capital gains tax.
Okay. All right. Would you, I think this property may be best to sell simply because I am not returning to that state anymore, and that's what it was for. I think I'll be going home after my sons finish school here. We get the extra bells and whistles with the university to where I'm not paying tuition. And so that he'll get a chance to do that. And so but I have to be residential in order for that to continue to happen. But after that, I want to head back home. And that's what I was thinking, is possibly just using that money from the sale of the house in South Carolina, since I don't see ourselves going back there, to make the purchase and then rent that home out until I get done here. And then I have it there at that price.
Totally
And
get
that's,
it. And did you buy that original property as a owner occupied property?
yes.
Cool.
Yes.
How many years have you lived in it?
I lived in it for the first 2 years, and then I just been here in Virginia, the going on 3 years. That's what I'm trying to figure out, because in June of 2026, it will be at the end of that. So now it's like, okay, I got to make a decision because the equity in it is, and I just talked with a realtor today. So it, right now it's anywhere between like, it's upwards of 300 maybe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Are you married or are you single?
Single. And so that's why I have to be very careful about my decisions.
Yep.
And my sons are older now, but at the same time, I don't want to make any decisions to where they're having to take care of me because I've been kind of foolish with my decisions and my resources. So, yeah.
I'll give it to you. Go ahead.
I would say that there's an opportunity here for a 1031 exchange.
Yep.
Especially if we are trying to, of course, avoid those capital gains, any kind of depreciation recapture maybe that we've been taking over the course of time. 1031 would be the way to go, especially into a potential market that you're maybe interested in starting to build a portfolio within.
If you're not holding it for investment purposes and you're using it as a primary residence and you lived in the property the last 2 out of 5 years of ownership, you qualify for a $250,000 exclusion on capital gains taxes when you decide to sell the asset. So you can essentially roll over $250,000 of tax-free income into your new investment, giving you tax-free wealth. I absolutely think you should be considering that, especially knowing that you want to go into investment real estate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who here on the call knew that I was going to bring that up? Put a yes there. I knew somebody was waiting for it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Kyle was thinking you were holding it as an investment property, so he went 1031.
Oh,
yeah. She
okay.
you did say investment.
I missed that part.
Benita said investment from the start, but then she did say she was living in it.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so 2 out of 5 years. And honestly, I mean, some of you might have gone through the process of living in a property for 2 of the last 5 years and then transitioned it to a rental. And at that point in time, maybe you are considering selling for any reason, right?
Yeah.
You can actually double dip. This is another kind of double dip potential strategy where you get that home sale exclusion, which I think is section 1250.
Yes.
For the $250,000 off of capital gains. And after you even transitioned it to a future rental property, and maybe you did sell it later on instead of a 1031, I mean, you're double dipping that strategy by still getting $250K off of capital gains.
Yep.
It definitely can get a little bit more complex when you're combining certain elements, but definitely take advantage of that, Benita, the 2 out of 5 year rule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those of you guys that are here right now, thank you, Benita, for coming up. For those of you guys that are here right now, what we shared with Benita, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have probably heard this concept, is if you own a primary residence, 2 out of the last 5 years, you occupied the residence as a primary residence, meaning you lived in there, not a secondary home. You actually lived in there. You can sell that property and experience no capital gains taxes on the first $250,000 of gain. It's pretty awesome. And then if you're married, that's $500,000 that is excluded. Yeah. If you ask me, that's a direct benefit that the tax code gives you for being a homeowner. There's not very many benefits you get on the homeowner side relative to being an investor. So if you are going to try to house hack, like this is the way to go, live in the property for 2 years, make sure you've chosen an asset that maybe you can force appreciation. Maybe you get something that's a little bit more distressed and you put renovations into it, you force the appreciation, you live in the property for 2 years, and then you can sell that asset for a $250,000 exclusion or a $500,000 exclusion. Has anyone on the chat here, I'm just curious, has anyone on the chat here done that strategy? Has anyone actually executed that strategy? Put yes in the chat box if you've executed
there
that.
we go.
Michael has, Luke, Darren, Tanya's about to.
Okay.
I love that. Dahlia just sold her home.
Sold the house, yeah.
Tracy said yes. Christine about to. September, yes. Okay, cool. We had a question come up earlier that you pointed out. Did you want to address it?
Oh, it was more so the mention of the 1031 exchange.
Oh, okay.
So, but after we were able to kind of clarify that the property was more so a primary residence, then it'd be 1031 exchange would not be allowed in that situation.
For those of you guys that are asking too, what happens when I put down my deposit? So when you put down a $5,000 deposit, that secures your spot to join the private client group. It doesn't mean you're in the private client group, it just secures your spot. So then it'll allow for you to open up a calendar where you can book a call with one of our tax strategy pros. They'll get on with you and they're gonna ask a series of questions to see if you fit what we are looking for to work with you. What do you mean by fit what you're looking for, Carlton? You need to be making enough money, okay? You need to be making enough money for us to work with you. You need to have enough liquidity in your bank account. You can't go broke paying us to try to save money on tax. That makes no financial sense, okay? You're not gonna use your last dollar to pay Tax Alchemy, nor are we gonna accept your last dollar. So those are two important things that need to happen. And then we need to understand what your goals and visions are. And if we're not aligned on what that needs to look like, obviously it's not gonna work out very well, right? So that's what you're signing up for, is to get a phone call with my team to determine if it makes sense for you to pay the other $45,000, of which you could choose to pay for that up front in a payment, or up front in a wire or ACH, or you could choose to go on a payment plan. What are the payments?
It's 4 equal payments of $12,250, where the first payment to really get things started here would be the $5,000 deposit and the $12,250. The total first payment comes out to the $17,250.
Yeah.
Now, I'd say most of our new members here, just within the last 24 hours, have really kind of chosen to go that full payment approach, just so they can get that full deduction this year, the full $50,000. Because again, this is a fully deductible legal and professional fee for you as a business owner. Instead of spacing out the payments from this year to next year, take full advantage of it this year.
Yeah. And listen, that option, we give you guys the option, right? It's $54,000 if you want to do payment plan. You're like, hey, I want to get in, see what they can do. Totally cool. But if you're wanting to write off the full $50,000, highly recommend you just make the full investment. Also, what we're doing for those that make their full payment by Monday is we're entering you guys into a raffle to get flown out to California to come spend a couple of days with us at the Pelican Hill, hang out with me, Kyle, and the rest of the Tax Alchemy team. We'd be more than happy to host you, but guess what? We're only going to choose, how many people did I say yesterday?
We did say 5. We did say 5.
Damn.
But it's going to be so fun.
No, it's going to be sick.
You know we'll
We're going to have 5 of you that have put in your full payment.
20, 10.
Darren said 20. Brittany said 10. Who knows? I might go to 6. We'll see what happens on Monday. But when we come back on Monday, every time you guys hear that ding, somebody's purchasing. When we come back on Monday, we're going to do our orientation. It kicks off at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So you'll join a Zoom room just like this. Kyle and I will be there, and we're going to walk you through the entire process of tax planning with us. How to use your portal, how to use your Slack channel, where do I go for help, how do I make this as easy as possible, who do I reach out for the real estate stuff, how soon can I get started, I want my phone call tomorrow, Carlton. Like all of that, like we got you covered. That's happening on Monday. And we're going to do the raffle on Monday. So if you're making your payment today, you made your payment yesterday, you are locked in. If you make your payment tomorrow for whatever reason, if you make the full payment, you'll be a part of the raffle that kicks off on Monday. So just want to make sure I said that. Let me know if that makes sense by putting a yes in the chat box. All right, let's go to some more questions.
Well, and here, one quick thing too to just mention is that even in the course of the last 2.5 hours and some change, we initially came on to today's session knowing that there were still 10 spots available because, of course, over the last 24 hours, our team has held quite a few calls, and we've ended up deciding that, you know what, it's just not the right time for some of those that chose to put down that initial deposit. Just within the course of this session alone, we still have 5 spots.
Yeah, 5 people have already joined. Where are we at?
5 spots
Okay,
left.
yeah, so we have 5 spots left.
Yeah.
So is
Okay.
Kyle's microphone still working? Can they hear him? Okay, cool.
Yeah, good. All right, and also too, I totally missed the opportunity with Benita. Benita, if you're still listening, that bedazzled, incredible hat that you were wearing, if you can please share the link of where you bought that, some shop. I mean, I know I'm gonna be getting that for my wife because that thing was awesome. So I hope you're still listening because I love the hat.
What's up, Brianna? How are you?
Brianna, how are you doing?
Thank you for being patient.
Hey, how are you guys? This has been so awesome. So thank you so much. I did talk to your team. I'm about $25,000 short on income to work with you guys, but next year we'll be golden. So I'm super excited for that.
Okay.
I have a question for you. It's a little random, but I know we talked a lot about short-term rentals in this 3-day training.
Yeah.
I just purchased real estate in the Dominican Republic, which I'm turning into a short-term rental. How do I structure this here in this country? And is there any tax deductions that I can have here on this international investment?
You want me to take this one?
Yeah, feel
okay.
free.
All right. So I would say that entity structuring wise, you would want to consult with a international tax preparer, an international tax professional. So first off, I would definitely look at any kind of local CPAs or accountants within the Dominican Republic. That'd be the first step.
Yeah.
The next thing to kind of keep into consideration here is that quite a few really the primary tax benefit that comes from these real estate strategies is that cost segregation study that allows you to accelerate depreciation, bonus depreciation, all those great things. Cost segregation studies, they only apply to US-based properties as well as properties within US territories. So at least with the Dominican Republic, it's not a bad thing whatsoever. I mean, of course, it's cash flow. It's another property. It's you building your portfolio. What you can do is you can still group together your short-term rentals. Maybe you have one eventually in the United States and you still have the one in DR. You group the properties as one. You can still use the hours you're spending managing that property remotely in the DR towards your total, and that's how you can really take advantage of it for these strategies.
That is correct. Yeah. So we have clients that have bought real estate in various different countries, and I always hate when I have to come and tell them, I can't do a cost segregation study on it because it's not US soil. So we have clients that have purchased real estate in Puerto Rico that I can do cost segregation studies on. We have one client that has one property in Guam that I can do a cost segregation study on. But we do have clients that will purchase real estate in Dominican Republic or Dominica. And unfortunately, if it's not US territory, we don't get to apply the accelerated depreciation. So it really kind of piggies off of why the tax code is written the way it is. They want to stimulate business and production and investments on US soil. Same thing why Trump is putting tariffs on all these other countries. He's essentially just telling all US-based taxpayers, stop going and setting up businesses in China and setting up businesses elsewhere. Just start building and making things here because I'll give you more incentives if you do that. So the tax code, which hasn't been changed since 1987, by the way, on this, has been written that if we don't have real estate on US soil, we can't do accelerated depreciation. So I will come back to you if anything changes on that, Brianna, but for the time being, we can't accelerate depreciation on properties in the DR.
Okay, and if I'm cash flow positive, is that money, do I pay taxes on it here?
Yes, you do. You pay taxes on all worldwide income as a United States taxpayer. However,
Don't you love that?
However, you receive what's called, if you want to write this down, you receive what's called an FITC. An FITC stands for Foreign Income Tax Credit.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Okay, so essentially what that means is I'm going to get a credit back on my individual tax returns relative to what I would have paid in Dominican Republic because I reported my worldwide income. So if I lived in Dubai and had corporations in Dubai, but I'm a US-based citizen, even though Dubai has no federal taxes and only 4% corporate taxes, I would have to report everything here, pay my taxes here in the United States, apply for the FITC, and get refunded back my credit, thus of my domiciled nation of Dubai. Does that make sense? Put a yes in the chat box. Put a yes in the chat box if I'm making sense to everybody else.
Thank you guys so much. That was super helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great questions that are coming in. Brianna, we hope to get a chance to work with you. The FITC is, for Daniela that asked that, it's the amount that you earned in foreign income. So it's literally the same amount in credit. Yeah.
Eureka,
how are you?
Hi, I am okay. I am so excited, so excited. So I have a few questions, and I'm gonna read this for myself. Okay. So I just recently made a life-changing decision. I have a 10-month-old, a 7-year-old, and pretty much I'm the catalyst in my family trying to build generational wealth. So I was forced to quit my 9 to 5 when I gave birth back in December because they couldn't cover my disability for as long as I had it for complications during the pregnancy. So now I was faced with either going back to a 9 to 5 or build my own business, which I'm doing. So I became a public notary and I'm opening up a tax preparer business.
Nice.
So I'm in the process of learning all different type of things, and I would like to focus in business taxes, corporate tax.
Okay.
That's why I'm here today, because I saw you're an intern, and I'm like, well, although I can't afford him yet, but at least I want to get as many tax strategies as I can.
Right.
Because I started doing this on my own and based on self-research, on my own research, I started with a C Corp instead of an LLC.
Yeah.
Now that I know, based on everything that you said, what the difference is, I want to know if it's wise for me to switch to an S Corp or keep it as a C Corp for now. I plan to do a soft launch or soft opening of my business end of November. And how can I also, the second part of the question is, how can I leverage, if there are any tax strategies that I can leverage for my customers during that last month and a half of the year when I open to help them come?
Yeah, I like the idea of you transitioning from a C Corp to an S Corp because of the ability for you to move money in and out of your business. When I was first starting Tax Alchemy, I had to take money out of the company to live off of personally, so I would transfer money to myself individually as a distribution, and then I would have to self-fund the LLC or self-fund the S Corporation and put money back into it to grow the business again, and then I would take money back out because I needed to live. So I was moving money in and out. If I was a C Corporation, every time I would do that, I would pay taxes, every single time. But when I'm an S Corporation, I could take money out as I want without paying taxes and put money back in without paying taxes. And there's just more control that I have. That being said, I love C corporations, but when you're a business owner that's operating personal services like providing tax services, you're gonna need to be able to manage money. Taxes is very seasonal. You make your money through January, February, March, and April, and then you're essentially living off of that money for the rest of the year. And so being able to move money in and out of the corporation is extremely beneficial for you. Having a C corporation would definitely amputate you. So I'd highly recommend that we look into transitioning your C Corp or revoking the C Corp status to apply for S Corp status.
Okay. So I already started the process. I have the
2553.
53 form. There you go.
Filled out.
Come on, Eureka.
There you go.
Come on, Eureka.
I'm gonna be faxing it tomorrow. You know, I wanted to know what you thought. Yes. So what can I leverage for those future customers that are coming in as soon as I open and start advertising myself as a tax preparer and a tax strategist?
The two biggest strategies that you are going to hit on early on, that is going to be a game changer for you, that's going to allow for you to charge to help your clients save money, is knowing how to structure their entities, like we're telling you, LLC versus S Corp, and how to do the Augusta rule and payroll optimization. That is literally monumental. Knowing how much I should pay myself out of my business saves me money. Knowing if I should be in an LLC versus an S corporation saves me money. And knowing how to rent my house back to my business saves me money. It doesn't even require me to spend any money to do any of this. It doesn't require for me to spend money to switch from an LLC to an S corp. It doesn't require me to spend money in order for me to take a salary for my own business. It doesn't require me to spend money in order to do an Augusta rule. You are putting money back into your clients' hands without them having to spend money. Those are called workhorse strategies. These are strategies that are going to work on your clients' tax returns every single year. So you want to make sure you get the workhorse strategies nailed down. Home office, Augusta rule, LLC optimization, payroll. Those are your workhorse strategies. Put a yes in the chat box if someone else is following along with me. Thank you, Justin.
How much should I charge for that, being that I'm new? I mean, my clients are not going to know that, but.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're charging $50,000 here because we believe that our services can far more than outweigh, the savings that a client's going to be able to receive based off of the investment. And you're going to have to do that math for yourself as well, right? If you start working with customers that are making, let's just say $100,000 a year, you can do the math to determine what is this optimization going to save them? What is that worth to them? Right? If they're going to pay $15,000 and they only have to pay me $5,000 to not pay $15,000, is it worth it to them to get that knowledge and education for $5,000, right? If I charge $20,000 and I'm going to save them $100,000, is it worth it to them to pay that 20% of that tax bill in order for them never to pay it? If it's $50,000 and they're going to save $250,000, is it worth it to them to get that tax plan done by Tax Alchemy, to have a dedicated tax strategist, to get all my LLCs formulated? So this is where you can start to do the math and build out your business appropriate to how you wish to serve your customers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Eureka, pleasure to have you up here. Thank you for joining the Tax Free Millionaire Summit. Susan, how are you?
Hi, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of the education that you've given us. I think it's been really invaluable and so many things to learn.
It was only just a little bit of stuff though, right, Susan? Just a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, just a little bit.
2 days, 3 days packed of information.
A little bit of stuff.
Let me give you just a little bit of background. So last year in 2024, I got laid off from my job. It was coupled with a very large payout from the company that I was working for. So I had negotiated a portion of a sale should they ever sell the company. And so they sold the company. They paid me out $360,000 with that. So yay on the 360, kind of bummer on the layoff at the same time.
Yeah.
So with that 360, I had them pay me through my business per the CPA I was using at the time to try to get deductions. And I was really going to use that to try to build my business, which I'm in short-term rental management, manage short-term rentals for other owners.
Oh, nice.
Good.
So I'm kind of set up in there, right?
Love it.
I was able to get about 100,000, a little over 100,000 in deductions last year. I invested a lot in education, real estate, those kind of things to try to get as much as I could. And I just couldn't make, buying an investment property with a cost segregation in time by the end of the year to get all of that done.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward to this year, my husband and I have been trying to go all in on our short-term rental management business. It's been a little bit slower than we would have liked, but both of us were trying to go all in on this. We did not have any W-2 income this year at all. My husband has done some like DoorDash delivery a little bit throughout the year. And we've been able to slowly grow the business, picking up some new clients, but definitely not where we need it to be. So I just finished my taxes just a couple of weeks ago. And of course, I'm getting a large tax bill of $94,000 that I owe the IRS. So considering the expenses, considering we've been living off of the money for this last year, $94,000 is exactly what I have in the bank account and exactly what I owe the IRS. So I'm in the process of still trying to re-get a W-2 and then have my husband continue on with managing and building our short-term rental business, and he would kind of be that real estate professional. So we're kind of working towards that.
Good.
My question is I'm trying to hopefully in this year do something with the time I have left in the rest of the year that will help kind of offset that 94,000 that I owe the government from last year. So I've been thinking about like the whole cost segregation and all that, and do I have time to do it in this year? And I'm glad that you're saying yes, I do have time to do it. But my question too is if 94,000 is all the cash that I have, and we need to kind of live off of that, and I owe it to the government. My husband also just got a job at Costco, so that's going to kind of help, and we do still have some income coming in from our business. What's the best way to use that? Can I not pay Uncle Sam all of it and then use some of that as a down payment, hopefully, on a property that I can do this cost segregation study on? I am a little bit concerned with the down payments that I may need because I'm sure I probably need like a DSCR because I don't have actual income that would qualify me for a traditional mortgage.
Exactly. That was what I was just about to say. Since you don't have W-2 income, it's going to be very hard for us to just go say, let's go get a short-term rental because we don't have W-2 income. And knowing that you have that liability, if I'm your underwriter and I'm trying to give you a loan and I see that you have debt that goes to the IRS, I know that money is not really your money. That's the IRS's money. So here's where I'm going to get really real with you, Susan, because I think that's why you're asking me this question. Carlton, am I paying the debt back to the IRS, or I'm keeping that money and I'm kicking the IRS debt down the road? I'm telling you to kick the IRS debt down the road. Why? Because it doesn't impact your credit score. It doesn't. You owing the IRS does not impact your credit. It doesn't. So if we pocket this money and we get on a payment plan for what we owe the IRS, even if you're paying $500 a month, I'm okay with you paying that. But what you need to do is you need to have emergency savings between you and your husband in the event that we go into a, God forbid, another COVID situation. That might be the last bit of ordinary income we have to operate off of. And then two, we need to be able to use that as a safety net in order to get another job to bring in income and start focusing on a high income skill that's going to be able to bring us multiple six-figure revenue coming in every single year. We are not at a place where we can say, throw in the towel, we're done working yet. We need more ordinary income working for us, and we need to keep that little 90K as a safety net until we're in a better operating place to say, now we can start paying back the IRS in lump sums. Now I'll throw $5,000 a month at that debt that I owe. Eventually I'll throw $20,000 at that debt that I owe. Now it's all gone. But what I don't want you to do is to go to zero just to pay the IRS, and now we're starting over from zero. Everything that you did, everything you negotiated, what was the point then if it just goes to zero?
Exactly. And that's kind of what I was thinking is I'm not gonna hand over 94,000 to the IRS. I'll just get on a payment plan, like you said, kick it down the road. But then I guess my other question then is, let's just say that I'm fine with, 50,000. Right, to maintain in my bank account, and I have another 40,000 or 50,000. Luckily, we also paid off all of our debt when I got that money as well. So we have great credit scores. We have 800 credit scores. We have money in our IRAs. I have another 50,000 in a self-directed IRA. Like my other question is like, can I use any of that between my credit, my retirements that I have, maybe the 40,000 in cash, try to get that DSCR before the end of this year, do the cross segregation study, turn it into a short-term rental, and then now kind of get that refund, right, for this short-term rental that then is going to go against, I'm assuming is going to go against the 94,000 that I owe. Uncle Sam's going to take their money out first of what I owe them before they give me any refund or anything. So that's kind of my thought process. Do you think that is doable?
That's actually not a bad idea. That's actually not a bad idea, Susan.
You have quite a few options. I mean, seriously, if you've already identified that, okay, I at least want to have the 50,000 no matter what, just for safekeeping or just the emergency fund, right? You could either, just on the IRS side of things, there's an offer and compromise potential option, the payment plan option if we pay it down to 50K, and then 50K from then on, we just get on a monthly payment plan type of opportunity. If you'd prefer to wait to do that until you identify what is going to be the realistic down payment on the property, even if we're going to go the DSCR route, which absolutely recommend, because without having that return filed or the taxes up to date, the loan process is going to be a little difficult. So DSCR, it's good you're already heading down that direction. The other thing to keep in mind too, that I want everybody to clearly understand right now, is that if you are already thinking about trying to acquire a property before the end of the year, qualify as a short-term rental, hit all the different criteria points, do not add the pressure of also trying to complete the actual cost segregation study this year. I want everyone here to know you have until the tax return is actually due next year, including extensions, to actually complete the cost seg report. Don't add that pressure to yourself. Don't try to find a company, or for our members that of course are joining within the community, we are going to be able to take care of those cost segregation studies for you, but they don't need to be done by December 31st. Focus on the other items that truly have a deadline of 12/31, and then we can talk about what we can wait until early next year.
Yeah, and what Susan said, guys, that I want to reiterate is Carlton, I have this 94, amount of dollars. What if I take some of it and I make an investment, DSCR loan, and buy a short-term rental? I do the cost segregation study, create a loss. I file my 2025 tax returns reporting that loss, and then whatever refund that I was expected back in 2025, they're going to go apply it to my debt in 2024. There's literally multiple routes we could take here, guys. Are you guys seeing the different ways in which, like, we're literally coming up with ways in which we can solve this right now? And so
I'm glad, I feel really good that you're validating that, because that's what I've been thinking that I'm going to. So I'm like, if I can do that, then that works. And then I'm not actually ever having to give the IRS any of that money, and I have more of it to keep. Invest. And then I guess one last thing then, right? With the cost segregation study, my understanding is that if you're going to do it, it is best to do it if you're kind of getting a fixer-upper to fix the property first and then do the cost segregation study. But I don't know if I have actual time in the year, because I believe I have to also bring in revenue this year on that rental, which means it'd have to be very small cosmetic upgrades, or, could I just rent out a room in it? Well, could I rent out a room or maybe seal off half of it or something if half of it isn't available, but the other half is? I think that's my understanding on those, is that I have to actually be generating revenue in this year in order for the cost seg to be able to be applied.
You're right. You're right. We need to make sure that we have at least a couple tenants in place before the end of the year to show that the property was truly in rental use. And we want to also qualify the entire property as rent ready versus just a portion of it.
Get the maximum.
So you can maximize the cost segregation study.
Now, to Kyle's point, could we do the cost segregation study and then come back and bonus depreciate the improvement cost later? Yes. So if we buy the property this year with the time we have left in the year and do the cost seg, as you're making renovations, I can bonus depreciate those renovations in your 2026 tax return. It's just whether or not you need it for your 2025 tax return. That's just a race against the clock, right? How fast can contractors get improvements done relative to you getting a property rent ready and earning rental income? Or better yet, what if you earn rental income right now and you get a couple of tenants, then you get everybody out, and then you start the renovations? Boom, now you already got the rental income. It's already done. Now you move them out. Then we start the renovations. I could cost seg a property that's still being renovated as long as you are the rental days.
Okay. So there wasn't a certain amount of rentals that needed to have happened so long as the rentals are under 7 days.
Exactly. As long as the rental days are 7 days or average or less.
It could be a couple one-night stays in the final week of December.
Could be a couple one-night stays. Literally three one-night stays, so we can get an average.
One-night stays, and then that works.
It could be three people for one night each.
Okay. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for validating my thought process and what I was thinking I could still kind of do. Like I said, it's really refreshing, and I think it's great that we have these strategies so that I'm not forking over that $94,000.
Very true.
Uncle Sam, because that hurt.
Listen, this is why we strategize. Like, you literally were bouncing off of us, right? Like, that's strategy. And you're confirming things with us. So appreciate
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you as well. Guys, I'm going to take the opportunity real quick to go. If it's okay, I just need to get up and use the restroom. Kyle will be here. I will be right back. I just need to quickly use the restroom. I'll be right back.
Carlton Dennis is human, people. All right. Let's see. Who do we have up next? Nick, what questions do you have? How can I help?
Hey, aloha, Kyle. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I got you.
Awesome. I was going to say, I don't know how you guys go this long without peeing. I would have peed about 5 times already. So kudos to you guys.
It is. Yeah, go for it.
For all the information over the past couple of days, it's been great. I have 2 questions. One surrounding the Augusta rule and how it applies to my property, and then also with potentially selling this one next year and then buying a comparable property. But I just wanted to kind of set the stage on my property, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Cool. So our property we bought back in 2022. We live in the upstairs, and then we have a downstairs like attachment that we do the short-term vacation rentals on as well.
Nice.
And I'm a commercial real estate broker, so I qualify for the hours. And we also generate some income off of this. It's around like 30, 35 grand a year. But for this, like with the Augusta rule, I have the rental component that we STR, and then I also have my home office, which I depreciate on that as well. And also to circle back, in 2022, we did a cost segregation analysis on the property. So I did the bonus depreciation on the short-term rental, so took that off, which was good and definitely beneficial and magical. So that, I guess my question is, I've never done the Augusta rule before, and you were walking through it yesterday on finding comps and whatnot, but mine's a little bit more unique here in Hawaii. We have like 5 acres of land, so I offer that land to my renters as well.
Okay.
And then we also have our 2-bedroom plus the office upstairs. But I guess, is my comparable like other 2-bedroom homes that are in the area, or am I able to use my have my S corp rent out my short-term rental and my office space? Like, how do you look at that?
Good question. So we wouldn't, if we're already operating a certain section of your primary residence as a short-term rental, we wouldn't want to try to incorporate your S corporation renting out that portion of the property, just because of potential related party transactions. It just becomes a little bit of a mess. Let's just keep that part separate from what we're trying to do with the Augusta rule. Do you have at least one, or do you have 2 separate business entities by chance, or primarily one for your main business?
For my commercial real estate business, I have my LLC S corp, and then we have like a farming entity, and then my wife has a medical practice entity.
Okay. Do you think that because if the home office deduction that you're currently taking, is that under the commercial
Correct.
business? Okay, so is that a Schedule C, or are you doing an accountable reimbursement plan?
So I have it's not on my Schedule C. I got to look back at my tax returns, but it's my S corp returns. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so I would say in this case, we're going to want to separate out across 2 different business entities, which one we're going to take the Augusta rule for, and then which one we're going to continuously take the home office, or technically called an accountable reimbursement plan. The reason why is because for a home office deduction to be taken under a partnership or an S corp or a C corp, it needs to be a ARP, accountable reimbursement plan, versus home office deduction. Either way, 2 separate business entities is how we can make this work. If your wife's business or that separate business you mentioned is a partnership or a corporation, or at least being taxed as one, we can then look at the Augusta rule and truly only rent out the portion of your primary residence that doesn't, of course, account for the short-term rental part or even the home office part, because that's already being accounted for within one of your other businesses. We can rent out the remaining space as well as the acreage that you have, and use that for 14 days a year for monthly events, quarterly events, holiday parties, maybe for your wife's business, who knows? You have quite a few options here to take into consideration. The comps part of it, I understand why that is maybe a little challenging, because there's probably not many properties in your area that fit the same kind of mold. So that's where it is going to maybe help to expand your radius of the type of comps that you're looking for. Of course, if there's maybe a similar acreage type of lot, maybe in a neighboring city, town area, the IRS would accept that because it's more like your current property versus trying to take one of your neighbor's properties. It sounds a little bit separate.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that definitely. Okay, so like only the 2 bedrooms are actually able to be listed in the Augusta rule, and then I'll have to find comps for land, which maybe I could connect with like a wedding company or even there's like some trail riding thing where they charge people a fee to get access to their property and take photos. So maybe I could use that as a comp, right?
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah. The key with trying to use the same property right for home office in Augusta is really just to create that separation.
Oh, yeah.
So if for the Augusta, I would say it's not just the 2 bedrooms; it's also the common space areas,
Yeah,
living room.
I'm writing off the
kitchen.
whole house. So
Yeah.
when we do the Augusta rule, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we do the Augusta rule, we're taking the square footage of the whole house. When we're doing a home office, I'm only taking the square footage of a room and a bathroom. Because obviously when I'm using a business space in the home, I need to go to the bathroom in business hours. So I'll have one business bathroom and one business area that I'm taking a home office deduction for. Augusta rule allows for you to write off the entire house. The IRS allows for you to take the entire house. They never said that it's just your living room. They never said it's the entire house. So we're looking for square footage that matches your house's square footage. And to be honest with you, that's why we can go to peerspace.com. We can go to the Hilton and see, hey, what does it look like to rent out your Hilton ballroom? Because that square footage is about the same size as square footage in my house. And they'll tell you what the hourly rate is. And so what you're doing is you're trying to justify the comparables that you're grabbing this information from, because under IRS scrutiny, what the IRS cares about is not that Nick just claimed this big amount. It's like, how did he claim that amount? Where did he pull it from? And if you have the validation to pull it from, I'll be honest with you, brother, the Augusta rule is not a strategy that the IRS could really fight on, because it's really just based off of comparables. And so it's just a one line item that goes on your tax return called rent. And so it's a very clean deduction when done correctly. So hopefully that helps Nick.
Yeah, I had a second part of the question. Thank you. So that this property that we're in, I was sharing with Kyle, we have like a rental component, and then which we short-term vacation rental, and then I have the home office, and we did the bonus depreciation in 2022 with a cost segregation study. But if we sell it next year, like we're looking at another property that's about $3 million, and it also has like a rental component as well. But to be honest, like we're not super stoked or trying to really rent that out much. You kind of touched on it with the last girl. Does it just have to be listed and rented out like a couple times throughout the year, or how does the IRS look at that?
You're talking about the property you're about to acquire, the $3
Yeah,
million?
we're looking at acquiring. Yeah.
Is it going to be an STR, Nick?
It could be. Yeah.
Okay, let's say it is.
Well, it's going to be our primary residence, and then there's going to be a 1-bedroom detached home that could be an STR.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
Then you would do the cost seg just based off of the square footage of the rental use. So let's just say 50% of the property is in rental use, the other 50% is not. It's personal residence. We only do a cost seg based off of the square footage of business use. And that's completely fine if you're running a detached room and you want to do a cost segregation study on it. The rules that you need to follow are the 100 hours in 7 days or less. The number of guest stays, I would say, is 3 that you're trying to target. You want 3 separate guests so we can get to a true average.
So just rent it out for at least 3 times. I'm a commercial real estate broker, so I get like the hours that way. I guess I'm just trying to figure out if we could buy that but not really rent it out too much.
You're a commercial real estate broker. You don't even have to worry about running a short-term rental. You qualify as a real estate professional if you're a broker and if you're spending time as a broker. So whether you run it as an STR or an LTR, we can do a cost seg on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's 11 real property trader businesses that qualify for real estate professional status. If you just type that in, what I just said, 11 real property trader businesses into Google, into ChatGPT, into any browser, it'll give you all of the 11 professions that already qualify as real estate professional. So being a wholesaler, being a flipper, being a broker, being a developer, these are different professions that are in the real estate space that already justify you being a real estate professional. So whether you're spending 750 hours managing your property or not, you might be spending 750 hours being a real estate broker. That justifies you having the ability to do a cost segregation study on your own units. So that's something to take into consideration, Nick.
Sorry, just my last little question. So if I'm not really interested though in renting out that extra space, but I still want to do the cost seg, do I just have to rent it out like 3 times throughout the year for it to qualify, or is there any type of rule that I need to follow? Because I'm not even necessarily interested in the income. It's more so just to get into
tax savings.
Yeah, tax.
It's there's no real true amount, I would say, because by you qualifying as a real estate professional, we're not really trying to shoot for that short-term rental strategy at this point on that property. Because really, in order to perform a cost segregation study on a rental, by you qualifying as a real estate professional, think of that as like the mecca of all tax strategies in the real estate space.
Okay.
You just need to make sure that that unit, that detached or separate location, is just rent ready. That's the only qualification.
That's it.
Now, you will want to have at least some rental income generated in future years at, fair market rates. We wouldn't want it to only be family members. There's no true, let's just say, minimum amount of tenants, but you just want to be able to show some rental income after taking a cost segregation study in 2025.
Let me give you an example, Nick. My wife qualifies as a real estate professional. We have multiple investment properties in Indianapolis, Texas, California, Florida. The properties that she closed on right at the end of last year, 9 of them that she bought, 9 of the units that she bought, 7 of them were rent ready, 2 of them were not rent ready. Of the 7 that were rent ready, only 5 of them were fully occupied. We did cost segregation studies on all 7 units that were rent ready, not the 2 that weren't rent ready, right? So we were able to absorb depreciation even though we had no rental income on 2 of the units. We only had rental income on 5 of the other units. Why? Because she qualifies as a real estate professional, and by law, as long as those properties are designated as rent ready, even though I haven't generated enough income in them, I could still cost segregate them. And because we made a grouping election, which we'll talk about tomorrow, I was able to group that asset in with all of the other assets that we own, so that way we're able to perform cost segregation studies on the entire portfolio.
Got it. That's awesome. Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick.
Man, we haven't even talked about the grouping election. Oh my gosh.
3 days versus 5 days.
Tomorrow's going to be a big day.
3 days versus 5 days, pretty crazy.
Oh,
when we come back tomorrow, we'll teach you guys the -9, if you want to write this down. 469-9 grouping election. 469-4 grouping election. Just write that down. 469-9, 469-4. Those are the 2 grouping elections we'll teach you tomorrow. And if you're anybody that cares about real estate, shit, I hope you show up tomorrow. You're going to wish you had learned this years ago. It is such a powerful strategy that allows for us not to have to spend so much time managing our investment properties, because we can group investment properties together. So we'll talk about that tomorrow. Priscilla, how are you? Welcome on to the Tax Free Millionaire Summit. If you don't mind, tell us where you're calling in from and maybe one question we can answer for you.
Sure. Hi, Carlton. Hi, Kyle. I'm calling from New York City. I think my question will be fairly straightforward, fairly simple. I'm pretty early on into my tax strategy planning journey. Recently married, both high income earners. We're both W-2. I'm an investment banker. Thank you. I'm an investment banker. He's in marketing for a real estate agency. We both own properties. So now we have 2 properties under our portfolio in Florida. One was originally short-term rentals. We actually turned it into a longer-term rental. Mine was always a long-term rental. We're paying a shit ton in taxes. And I just don't know if, given our profile, we qualify, because
You're both working, you both converted your properties to long-term rentals, and neither of you guys want to give up your W-2 jobs because you're making so much money.
Right, exactly. You hit it perfectly on. I mean, I do take advantage of all the tax advantage accounts, HSA, 401k, Roth, commuter accounts, all the good stuff. It does help a little bit, but as I plan out, I do live in a H-Cole city. As we know, New York City is very expensive. does it make sense for me to even engage? I think the main thing I took out of this 3-day session is I have to start layering and structuring the entities, kind of like the way the corporates that I cover are structured. But I'm not really sure if right now we're ready for the investment into your private program.
I think what you're realizing is like, I'm not going to do a short-term rental with my current properties. So why would I do that strategy? I'm not going to possibly buy a short-term rental between now and the end of the year, because me and my husband, we already own these 2 properties and we just got into these maybe recently. So then what strategies actually are applicable for us relative to the types of income that we're earning, knowing that we may not buy a property between now and the end of the year? Am I hitting it on the head? You can let me know and be honest.
Yeah, so I've owned my property for about 5 to 6 years. I bought it in 2020, so 5 years exactly. And he bought his property last year, so about a year and a half. But yes, exactly correct. We're just trying to figure out how to structure ourselves going forward as a married couple.
Are you okay with me asking what your household income kind of looks like, ballpark?
Yeah, ballpark 500,000.
Yep. So let's just say that we parked 100,000 into a movie film. We didn't park it into real estate. We parked it into a movie film, which comes with a return on investment. You're going to make all of that money back, that $100,000 plus, let's just say anywhere between 10 to 20% on your money, right? 10 to 20% on your money. To receive a $400,000 deduction this year, which will drop your combined household income down from $500,000 down to $100K, would give you a substantial refund, right? And then we can park that refund come next year into possibly whatever you want. Cash flow producing asset, oil and gas well, another movie film in your savings account. But what you did is you invested money into a business that's not a passive business, because the real estate that you and your husband have are passive in nature. The movie film would be the active business that offsets your active W-2 income. So then we offset your W-2 income, putting you down to almost like $100K taxable income. You still qualify for loans, right? Because you still have enough income to qualify for loans, but we don't pay taxes like we're making $500,000 a year. You're going to get a $500,000. She'll get a refund back of about $120,000.
Because it's federal and
Yeah,
state.
because it's federal and state. Yeah, you have oh shoot, you're in New York. So you have cities, you have local tax, city tax, and state tax. So you'll get a refund back of about 120 grand. So then it's up to you to decide how you wish to use that 120K.
Okay, so there's some hope, even though we're very vanilla
there's
profile.
a lot of hope.
Priscilla, I just want to make sure you understand. Your strategy may not be real estate this year. We offset your tax liability with an active business that gives you a loss this year, and then next year we can look at whatever we want to invest in. I would want to look at everything you have going on. How much money do you and your husband have in your brokerage accounts? How much money do you have in Bitcoin? How much equity do you have in your home since you've been paying your mortgage for 5 years? He's only been paying his for 1 year. Like, I would look at everything first. And before I say, let's just go.
Entire profile,
exactly. Before I say, let's just go buy another property.
Okay. No, that makes sense. This is promising, and I just wanted to kind of get it directly from you, because we are chatting through this and we need to have some sort of comfort that our profile is not too vanilla, right? Because W-2, I feel like after hearing all these questions and all the strategies, it does kind of feel like it's very geared towards business owners versus W-2 employees, which is great and which I would love to do in the future. But right now, it's very hard to say bye to a very stable, very lucrative, W-2 position.
And that's fair. I mean, and also I want everyone here to know too that, I mean, we've served, I would say within 50, our current community, it's about 50-50.
50% of all of our clients are W-2, because that's who I speak to. Like, I was W-2 before I became self-employed. I majored in kinesiology and minored in nutrition. I speak to a lot of medical professionals. Like,
perfect.
I love, that's who I serve. Being a business owner is absolutely amazing. Do I serve business owners? Absolutely, because the tax code favors business owners. But what I do is I help W-2 people bridge the gap between being a business owner and loving your profession. We're going to have some type of business on the tax returns that's going to draw a deduction for us, so we can go focus on making more money in our W-2 jobs, which is our profession. And so I want you to know, Priscilla, you have a home here. There's other members that are literally commenting saying, Priscilla, you fit the exact mold of what Tax Alchemy is looking like. And I want to let you know that if you give us the opportunity to work with you, I will ensure that you and your husband are taken care of, not only for this year, but for the foreseeable future.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And great job. This has been incredibly educational, informative, and kind of eye-opening, I'm not going to lie. So it's great stuff.
Absolutely.
Good,
Thank you.
Good to hear.
Yeah, we love New York. Me and Kyle go to New York all the time.
I'm gonna be there next week.
He's gonna be there next week for his anniversary. I already booked my New York trip for my 5-year wedding anniversary with my wife. We'll be out in New York in the first week of December. I love staying in Manhattan. I love eating the food out in New York and seeing the shows, Wicked, and what other shows you like?
Oh man, Back to the Future.
Back to the Future was really good. You saw that one too?
Yep.
Hamilton.
Yep.
Hamilton, that show Hamilton is really good. There's just so many cool spots in New York. So shout out to Naveen Alam, who's another one of our clients who lives in New Jersey now, was originally from New York, who matches the same profile as Priscilla. Naveen Alam got married to his wife. They have kids, and we did a tax plan for Naveen. Naveen was in a very similar situation, already owned real estate, and we decided to invest in other strategies to offset Naveen's liability, Priscilla. And that is part of the reason why Naveen is still here working with us here today. It wasn't the real estate. It was coming up with other strategies to help him mitigate his liability on his New York-based income. And then in the following year, we were able to focus on real estate. Justin, good to see you again, brother.
Hey, familiar face.
Yeah. I'm glad I got picked up again, because after what I was told yesterday by you all, I shared it with a couple people, and I have another question now.
Let's go. Let's do it. All right,
Listen,
we're ready.
We're actually on the golf course, and I kind of took your idea. I don't charge people to golf with me, but I do give some insight on some things. And one of them brought up after I mentioned the Augusta rule and something they could possibly use. He mentioned that his investment company, I guess, acts as a management company, owns his actual business, which is SM Insulation. And then he rents his home. Let's say he rents his home to his business or from his business, but his other corporation owns the home. So he doesn't technically own the home himself.
Yeah.
He's charging his one business rent from there. And so I think it's roughly about $5,000.
Yep.
And then mortgage is about 15 or something like that. So he's able to write this off on this side and write this off as an expense on this side. Can he still use the Augusta rule on top of all of that?
Yeah. So what he's doing is not the Augusta rule. What he's doing is called a leasing agreement. So he leased his house to his corporation, which is no different than the Augusta rule, except he's not doing it for 14 days. He's doing it for 365 days. So he's reporting the ordinary income on his individual tax return. But because he also owns the building, he's able to claim depreciation to offset the ordinary income for creating the leasing agreement. His investment LLC owns his operational LLC instead of him owning it individually. Let me give you an example. Instead of me owning Tax Alchemy, I have an LLC that takes interest in me owning Tax Alchemy. And then I create a leasing agreement between the house and the corporation. Does that make sense, Justin?
It makes total sense now. And whenever he said it to me, I was like, I'm gonna ask to see if you're doing this legally. So
did you think you were gonna hit me with a question I wasn't gonna have an answer to, Justin? Were you trying to come up here and test my skill set?
I was a little bit, but I appreciate you answering it for me. So I got it. I'm done. That was it.
Oh man, you're amazing. I'm glad we get to work with you. I know you already signed up.
Awesome.
It's a pleasure, guys. That about wraps it up. I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining me and Kyle on here today. What did you guys think of the Tax-Free Millionaire Summit? Did you guys enjoy this? How much did we charge for this go around? Only $297? Was it worth the $297 that we charge on the front end? Was it amazing? Was it fire content, as you guys would say? Did you guys take screenshots? Did you record? Are you reposting this on social media? Tag us. Tag me on Instagram. I would love to repost you. Reach out to me on Instagram. I would love to repost you. I would love to get connected with you. It doesn't have to end here today. Tomorrow, I will be putting on a bonus training. I won't be in this beautiful studio. I'll be back home in California in my California-based studio. And I'm going to come back to you guys with 3 more strategies tomorrow. We're going to go over the -9 election. We're going to go over the -4 election, and we're going to go over the self-rental strategy. How many of you guys in here own your own facilities in which you operate in? Whether it's a commercial space or residential space, you own the facility in which you operate in. What if we could do depreciation on the facility that you operate in? Would you want to go into commercial real estate instead of residential? Would you want to go and buy that chiropractic practice if I told you you can do a cost seg on it without having to spend 750 hours, without having to even spend 100 hours? Would you be interested in that? Do you think there's more strategies that we have to offer to you, or do you think we're tapped out? They spent 3 days, they ran out of everything. Or do you think there's more tricks up my sleeve? What do you guys think? I rolled them up for a reason when I went to the bathroom. I got more tricks up my sleeve to provide to you tomorrow, and we'll be here back at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. You'll get an email, you'll get a text message notification, you'll get all the things. But we need you here in attendance at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We will go ahead and play our outro. Hang out and listen to some of our client testimonials. We got one more spot available for the private client group. There's one of you guys that are on here. We want to see you inside. We'll see you there.
What's going on, guys? I'm in Las Vegas, and I just ran into one of our Tax Alchemy clients, Amir. Amir, tell us about your experience being a Tax Alchemy member.
Sounds good. Yeah. So last August, I realized I'm going to have